Hi, everyone. Welcome to an episode of your favorite podcast, Unresolved Textual Tension. It's me, your host, Maria, and today with me, the lovely, the incredible Katie. Woo. She's got cute space buns. Katie, turn their head so they can see. Turn your head so
they're
they can
really
see
messy. They're actually not that cute.
They're so cute. I love it. I love the whole style today. And we are here in a Patreon live stream video. Jump off.
Oh, she hasn't been on for a minute. She was on last week. You can catch her there last week, the hot one. But for now you're just stuck with these whelps.
But we are reading. So this is our Patreon live stream. It was supposed to be our end of month book, but it got pushed back. I got sick. And this was a book voted upon by masses in
the many
Patreon.
By the many.
It was picked by the many, and it is The Will of the Many by I've forgotten the author's name.
It's James Islington or Islington.
Islington.
Yeah.
Jamie boy, if you will. And I finished this like an hour before this video. It's long. It's one of the longer books we've done. It's 26 hours, 10 hours shorter than Alchemized. Yeah.
Oh man. Okay.
That's gonna be the barometer by which I measure everything from this point on. There'll be like a flight to get to like Asia, and I'll be like shorter than Alchemized.
That's a thought.
Yeah, it is. But anyway, and Katie and I did not enjoy this book.
It's got a lot of like literally mechanical issues. The writing itself is fair. I would not say it's grand. I would not say it's bad, but I wouldn't say it's special in any sort of way.
Yes.
If anything, actually, there's a few instances where I asked myself if, because, as you might have guessed based off the title, The Will of the Many, this book has a lot to do with, like, society. So, one of the things that I noticed is there's a lot of lack of detail, actually, especially in environmental scenes. And, I'm biased on that front to some degree, but I'm not talking from a biased space right now. Everything kind of blurs into itself. And for a while, I thought to myself, I'm like, oh, I wonder if the author's doing this on purpose. It's because he wants to show that you lose individuality when you all only work towards what you think is the cause that you're working, blah, 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 blah. And then as it progressed, I was like,
that would have been
that is not the case
of a thing for it to be. He's there. Sorry, we're having to trap a baby so that we can release another baby. As mentioned in the comment response video Will and I did. I don't know if it made it into the actual video because I haven't finished it. I have a new cat baby, and integration's a tough time. So we have to cycle who gets locked in rooms. And now I have 2 cats locked in here with me. Anyway, Katie, your ideas would have been fascinating to look at now.
Well, I thought definitely it's because, guys, there's this, like, I mean, this is kind of like, this is not a good summative, but this is an example of what I was just saying. There's a scene very early on where he sees, like, what is considered the greatest city of all time, at least that's like the generic phrase that a lot of people use to describe the city, and everybody just vaguely agrees with it. And it's all in this world, again, we're going to go into the details, but in this world, people use something called willpower. Sorry, it's so dumb sounding now that I said it out loud. It's not actually dumb, it's actually a fine concept, but like it just sounds silly. But anyway, they use willpower. And so a lot of things move using like magical forces of will. So like great feats of ingenuity can happen. But it's so funny. It's because when you get the city described to you, I was picturing actually Dune a little bit with the scarcity of detail. I was picturing Dune in when they get to Arrakis and they see the city and it's all just like kind of covered. And that makes sense. For in that movie, it's because the sun scorches everything and burns everything to the ground. But that's basically the vibes you get from this city. It's just these structures, and that they're like modern looking because of the amount of effort that went into creating them from a non-human hand, because it's all will powered. And but it never actually goes into any like details. One of the few details you get is that they're like statues of gods and goddesses, which I actually am a little confused about overall. In general, their religious stuff, but they're supposed to have them in like poor places, so that way the poor people can look at something and see grandiose representations of what they're working for, which is this, blah, 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 whatever. But besides that, those small details, you don't get anything. So like it's the same thing with any other situation too. Like there are a fair like it's very sparse in description, so it almost feels like this world doesn't have a character of its own, even though it is quite the creation.
Yes, I completely agree. There's a bit of the kind of flat painted, like you're watching a stage play, and there is like a background, but it's kind of like a painted screen, so it lacks some depth. Really quick, I want to give the premise of this book because it
Yeah.
is so specific that talking about it will make it easier. We enter the world of the hierarchy. There used to be individual kingdoms and places across the world. No longer. Everything is the hierarchy, which is the empire of Catan. And Catan is this empire, nation, state, city thing that has gone out and subjugated the rest of the world. We're at the point where there's no longer anyone else to get to. Like they've done it. This is empire. Post empire did what they were supposed to do. Everyone is taken care of. No more place to conquer. And the way that the empire works, as Katie mentioned, is by will, where you can physically take somebody's life force, their will, out of their bodies and put it into other people that give them magical superpowers, or you can use it to run, like Katie mentioned, transport, machinery, that kind of stuff. All of this is done by will. And how it works is you have people at the bottom, the
Octavi, yes.
which are the base people, and they are giving their power to someone.
And the way they're described at the very beginning of the story as they're kind of like almost soulless. Not totally, but they imagine somebody who is working like, you know, imagine an emergency room nurse coming off a shift. That's like basically them, is that they're like scooped clean of like, ooh, zhuzh. And so that's because they're seeding, which I did like that term. They're seeding towards the next level up to provide their will to them.
Yes. And so your position in this society is based on where you are in these hierarchy pyramids. The Octavia are at the bottom, giving power to some people. Then you have people above them who are getting power from people underneath them, but also giving power up. And so eventually at the top, you have people who have like pyramids of like 1,000 people under them, all giving power. So they're strong. Like they got better reflexes than you. They got better power than you. They also got magic. They can make your head blow up just for looking at you.
Yeah, and so and also just as a notation for it, like there are also physical like changes that happen to you when you utilize this power. For example, many times some of the more powerful will users, it's described that their eyes glaze over with black. They have like
you are actively using will, your eyes turn black. Like when you're not just getting the passive benefits, but you're actively using it to do something unexpected.
I wish. So now I'm just going to throw this out there while we're on this specific little detail, and I'm not going to go too much into it so we don't get distracted too much. But so what comes to my mind as like I don't know, I don't want to say a writer because I'm not really a writer right now, but like as a creator, like as somebody who creates things in my head, when I get to that part, I ask myself, okay, is it necessary to explain why their eye, and this is very nitpicky, by the way, is it necessary to explain why their eyes turn black? No, it is not necessary. However, it's very stylistic, and that's fine. Books are okay that you can do that. However, when you're writing a sci-fi book with so much drawing from raw material, or like not raw material, you know, like obviously there are influences, but what I mean is you're trying to rebuild the way this world works from the bottom up. Why are you not going to explain why that happens? It's because that seems like a silly power thing that just is aesthetically cool looking as opposed to having a purpose. Like, is it that there are nano machines, whatever, like in their, like, I mean, it's not why
Yeah.
it's not. But like, are there little nano machines in their body? And when they do that, in order to calculate the stuff, like a screen goes over their eyes when the nanos go there, and they, like it covers it like a visual thing. Like, so like when you build something like that, it makes it feel more real, authentic, organic. And so because their eyes just turn black, it's kind of like,
So I think that and to comment on that, Katie, because you're right. If this was a sci-fi, because the thing is, I don't actually think this is a sci-fi. I think this is
it's like a fantasy almost.
techno fantasy, like a techno futurist kind of fantasy thing. That's kind of because it will, and that while it looks like technology, is magic with more steps. Like that.
It's like what are they called in Star Wars?
The Force.
Yeah, but it's called something, the little pieces that they measure.
When the midichlorians.
Yeah, midichlorian. There we go.
Yeah, when Lucas went back and was like, you know what, I'm going to explain this more than I have to. I know there's a lot of people who've really turned around on the prequel trilogy and are like, actually, I really like that. That was my childhood. It wasn't that bad. I still didn't like the prequels. Anyway, but so back to this world. You have Will and all these people seating up, everything's going up, and it's not like to one like ultimate emperor kind of thing, but to like the Senate and the people at the top. And there's three main structures of this empire. There's governance, there's religion, and there is military. And I will get into the power struggle that's currently happening through this with them all. But congratulations, hierarchy, you did it. You conquered everyone. And our story starts, and the premise of this book is there is this guy. His name's Vis. He's 17. He's lived a rough life. Previously,
he's an underdog.
He's an underdog. Even though he previously was a prince of a fucking royal family and spent the first 15 years of his life
in luxury
/ with the best of the best. But then the empire came, the hierarchy came, and they took down his homeland. He escaped. He's the only person in his family.
He's been on the run. He's been hiding. Nobody knows who he truly is somehow.
And his world, his life has entered a comfortable state of stasis where he works in this sapper prison, and I'll describe that later, but he works in this specific prison thing with this guy, and then he's also at this orphanage.
And wait, guys, guess what he does in his free... Wait. Guess what the orphan who has nothing to him and is always down on his luck, who's an underdog. Underdog. I mean, slip of the tongue. Underdog. Guess what this underdog does to make money in his spare time? He fights in a ring.
Yeah, he fights. He does paid gambling fighting stuff where he gets to be one of the fighters. And, and he's a scrawny kid, and he fights up. Sometimes he fights people who are getting will from other people, so they should be strong. And somehow he's able to go a couple rounds.
He's the cat in the dog ring is what they hoped to use him for, because he's not powerful at all as far as will goes. He doesn't have anybody ceding will to him. So when he goes up against people that are using will, it's only about like one level higher or so, or in general just a will user at all. And so he's kind of like that like I said, the underdog. So but he's really good. Yeah. So, or he's really scrappy, and he's smart, and he uses strategy, and so he figures that out. Now, guys, don't get me wrong. Do I have a soft spot in my heart for scenes that begin in a smoky bar where people are
bare knuckling?
One of my favorite scenes ever, or two of my favorite scenes ever, is at the beginning of the first X-Men movie when Wolverine's fighting in the cage, and also when Sherlock is doing his slapping, his slap technique. So, like, yes, it's lovable, but it feels so shallow in this book. It does not feel particularly, like, influential upon the character, even though it really should. And it is kind of, somebody might argue, wait, but he says and does all this, and that's because of that. okay, but it doesn't really feel like you probably could have taken that away and had him scrap with others and still like I don't
Yeah.
know. I guess that's not true.
We'll get into it because I also have thoughts about this. But anyway, to continue with the premise,
Yeah.
he's trying to get out of the empire, get out of the hierarchy because he doesn't want to use will. He's anti-will, and he has suffered for it because at a certain age they're like, go seed yourself, go
Go to the
do the will,
mines, children.
go do the thing, and he's like, no, I'm not gonna do it. And so he has been saving his money from his fights to build up a stockpile so he's enough money to run away somewhere safe. He's been working in the jail also to earn money, but he also goes at night in his extra free time when he isn't bare knuckle boxing to the biblioteca to continue learning and building on the education of his royal family in Sus. And at the start of this story, he's in his prison, he's doing his prison guard job, and a very powerful guy comes in and is like, I'm very powerful, take me, I want to go see this newly transferred prisoner. And he's like, wow, okay. And he takes the guy, and the guy speaks a language that our main character knows how to speak and is trying to get information. And he's like, wow, I don't think this powerful guy is who he says he is. He seems to be trying to find out something. The really powerful guy is like, ha ha ha, I knew you understood me, and I know that you aren't affected by sappers. I'll explain all of this later. But the guy's like, how about I adopt you and you go to this very competitive school where my brother was killed, you enter it and you spy for me, and then there's this other group of people who are like, you'll spy for us too. And he has to go to the school and spy for people. And that's it. That's the premise of this story. Poor orphan who is not just a poor street urchin, is plucked from obscurity by a powerful man within the upper tides of the hierarchy and sent into the school with conflicting goals of what he's supposed to be doing.
And it's funny, Chris M mentioned something along the lines of this in her final thoughts, but it was something that occurred to me too. It's just really funny because it feels like the theme, because one of the themes is this, it's actually listed down as a theme, but like one of the themes is the idea of being plucked from obscurity and building yourself up and blah, 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 as opposed to, say, nepotism and blah, 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 and blah, blah, blah. Well, it's just ironic. It's because he's not he's not just some rando. He's somebody important. And while that is fun for us as or it could have been fun, it is not fun for me. It could have been fun for the readers to be have like little inklings of this and then be revealed in a certain scene, and then that might have been kind of fun. But since it's stated from the very get-go, immediately with like no preamble, and so any tension for what is the truth behind our main character is completely sapped, and it gives him easy mode, like it. Whereas this should have all been very hard, honestly. He's just, as Chris M said just a few moments ago in the chat, just McBadass Sir Badass. Like he's just really cool, and you can't take him down a notch because he's too cool for it. Yeah. Which is that fun sometimes? Yes. Is it boring? Yes.
For a book this long, let me tell you.
It's very boring.
Yeah.
I'm going to end on this last thing. Just an overall generalization of what I think could have fixed this book very easily, although it would completely change it. And I told this to Maria before, is I said switching perspectives before. She was like, you mean third person omniscient? And I'm like, yeah, I guess so. But the point is like not staying in just this the whole book would have made a gigantic difference in the execution and the success of the execution of this book. But that's my overall conclusion on this book.
Yes, I agree. I think switching from, because it's first person narration smack dab in Vis's head, which I think and multiple people in the Discord mentioned, kind of painful. You don't want to be there as long as you're stuck there, especially because like it saps a lot of tension. Because Vis is so good at like reading things in situations that there are rarely, like, my favorite scenes are the ones where he has no idea what is going on because he just can't. And the rest of the time he just feels too like stable and know it all as a main character. But for me, I think part of the problem is I think this book starts way too early. The entire first 38% of a 26-hour book has some setup stuff in there, but could have been cut out by doing some back and forth like time skips, like going back and forth in the timeline a little bit at the start, to kind of set up some stuff, because it just takes so long for the point where the actual plot of the book starts. We have prison, we have orphanage, we have him getting taken in by the like guy in the upper parts of the hierarchy who's like, I'm gonna adopt you so you can go to this school. Then he has to like do fake school with this lady for 2 months, and we have to read all about that. And then
during that 2 months, there are two big events. Well, not that during this time, there are two big events like that help define him as somebody like worthy of respect to the general public. Like he does these amazing feats. And so there's a lot of preamble up to the main point. Okay, so also as a side note, I want you guys to all know, if you are to read this book, you're going to get this underdog fight scene in the grimy parts of a district. You're going to get poor orphan who gets adopted by a powerful person. You're going to get espionage with rich family and school. You're going to get school fic, shame. School story. You're going to, which was weird with the combination of the other things. You're going to get boat coliseum scene, which we all know how we feel about that.
I don't love boat coliseum.
If we don't love boat coliseum, it's a giant waste of resources. You get boat coliseum, and then you also get, spoilers, you get mega super cool character because they're an ancient god. So like, I mean, that's oversimplifying things, but you get mega cool overpowered character who is like God. And then like one thing I would say is there's a lack of focus on romance.
Who's that? Who's a god?
I mean, he's not a god. He's just like godlike.
Oh, okay, got it. I thought you were making like a reference to. Okay, got it.
No. He's just godlike powers. Again, isekai. And then you've one thing I will say it does not play into is romance too much. Or at least it doesn't play into it as heavily as it could have. Which I am, thank God. I'm glad it didn't do that.
Yeah.
But besides that, it's a lot of cliches, and while they're not the worst executed, the characters involved because of the setup for everything, it's very boring.
Yeah. And it just, he is the main character. There's multiple points where like the narrative looks at what could happen next, and it just like turns and just takes the most cliche option that it could. Like there's this point where like he starts the cool badass empire school and immediately gets into a fight defending someone from someone else who's trying to bully him, and now that sets him at odds with the whole school because he had to do this thing. And like at every point where he can like do something that would be like the normal thing you should do in a situation versus the stereotypical, and I use like kind of shonen anime trope, like, and not like the best of the shonen anime tropes, like, but the just very obvious ones, it goes that route.
Think of solo leveling. Like, so like any of you who know what that is, like it's just like solo leveling. It's just it's a character that you can't help but like because they have like no flaws almost. I mean, they do, but like they're forgivable flaws, and so they have only likable qualities, which that's not a sin. But it does make it hard to believe the character is real, especially when painted specifically like this. Because the thing is when you have a character that is so skilled that they rarely fail, and then you have a character that is so altruistic that he doesn't make overly selfish decisions, and when you have a character that has nothing to lose, it creates a character that's very likable because, of course, why wouldn't you like somebody that's willing to do anything to get the right thing done? Mm-hmm. But at the same time, it's like, okay, and I've seen this a million times. Where is the unique quality to this character that's going to stand out and make me remember this book for all time?
Yep.
And it's not it's not there.
It isn't. And unfortunately, there's just too many things. I've mentioned it before, but like Katie said, there was like 5 different like tropey things happening within this story. And we haven't even mentioned the dark magical secret that is also like there's this whole mystery of there's a weird thing going on the island that the school is on. There's this dark magical secret, and you start getting glimpses of it, and you're like, what the fuck? How does this fit into anything?
It really changes the genre quite a bit.
It does. This changes its genre all the time. Sorry, I'm watching cats and making sure nobody's even though it's 2 cats who've lived with each other for the past 8 years. I just have to make sure they don't. But the way this book works is there's just too many things. It needed to be edited down to like the heart of what actually wanted to be explored. And it's just very what is the word I'm looking for?
It doesn't engage you overly much.
I mean, yes, to that, but it has such a large scope and so many things going on that it is a great undertaking. There's a word I'm actually looking for. And the problem is I don't know that the author had I think this author is competent enough that had this been pared down a couple of notches, they could have written a like really, hey, no fighting, please.
The cats understand that.
Yeah. They could have written a good book, but this ambitious. This was such an ambitious book in a lot of different ways that it really struggles to come together, and a lot of it comes down to Vis and how he's, as Katie has mentioned, how he's utilized. And if he's the heart of the book, then it just suffers by him being kind of simultaneously forgettable and also too cool for school. Like he's the smartest, bestest boy in school, and it doesn't work with the inherent conceit of what this book is trying to do, I believe.
And real quick, so that way people know, what do you think this book is trying to do?
So this book is like empire bad, empire based on hierarchy,
but it's
nepotism.
Cheating itself. Yeah.
And cheating, because it's not a meritocracy. This is hierarchy in the classic sense, where who are you connected to, who do you know, the politics of it all, not meritocracy by any means. And you have someone going against it, and it's in the title, the will of the many. So you get the idea that where like this book is the underdog people of the world with this empire sitting upon them, imposing its will on them that they have to then comply with. And then you have this main character who is supposed to be this underdog coming up against them, but who has, and Chris M did a great job of talking about this in her final thoughts of this, but how can you be fighting against this empire and the unfairness of the situation? And our main character is a motherfucking prince. He was part of a fucking what is it called when you have a royal family?
Monarchy.
A monarchy. A fucking monarchy. Like, I'm sorry, monarchies are not any fucking better. There was this funny thing. I watched a video from Maggie Mae Fish that was about Cats, the movie Cats, but also about T.S. Eliot and how like he hated fascism, but he was also a huge pro-monarchy person. So like he was like, I don't like things that affect monarchy, but he was also really pro the monarchy and stuff. And like, it's just two sides of a different coin, my guy. Like, what are we talking about?
And also, like, again, I want to go back to that different perspective thing. I just want to give like a brief example. Obviously, we've not gone over any like plot details, but what I want to explain is this. This book is written as things happen in the book. So it's not like diary format. However, the way this is described to analyze his surroundings and respond to them in order to avoid suspicion makes it very much feel like an active diary entry, because we don't get a lot of raw reactions from him because he's too good for that. He thinks about things before he does things. So it really honestly feels more like a reflection on what has happened as opposed to it actively happening in a lot of places. So what would have been really nice especially because number one, Vis is, like we already said, an outsider, and we're getting an outsider's perspective. But the whole point is that this whole society is built up a certain way and it involves everybody. So we kind of lose something in that. You would think you would gain it from an outsider's perspective, but not really, because you, as the reader, already have that outsider's perspective because you're not part of the society. So we're just getting our own thoughts and feelings through another character, and as opposed to seeing the world through a character's eyes that has already been part of the society and believes in it. Because one thing that this really wants to do is to not associate at all with will use. And that is how the society runs. So it would have been much more interesting to have switched perspective through several different characters, especially because the ending and the way the ending is one of my favorite things in not just animes, but anime is a perpetrator of this trope a lot. What I really like is when a character is overpowered or they have a secret dark power that ends up coming out and they become like demon lord master man who just destroys everything or whatever, or lady. Um, I like it when you get the other character's responses to that, because in the mind of that character during that moment, unless you're going to go into insanity mode and just like describe like an internal spectrum of like a battle with an internal self, kind of like, again, I'm doing a lot of anime references here, but like Ichigo and his inner self and his Zanbakuto and like them having their internal conflict. The thing is that you get simultaneously a lot is you get outside Ichigo with being possessed by his hollow self, and he's fighting against enemies, and during that time the enemy's like, wow, who is this person? Or you get the friends that are like, wow, what is happening to him? And so that's very gratifying, especially when the character itself or himself, herself is struggling with these things and you don't get the satisfaction of seeing somebody acknowledge that struggle. So in an action book like this and a sci-fi fantasy, whatever, it would have been much more satisfying to have received other people's perspectives on this. A good book explanation or comparison was the ending of the Locked Tomb series, the last book, Nona the Ninth, when you get the scene from somebody else's perspective and how weird it is. Like, we're not inside the OP'd character's mind. We're outside of it and we're viewing it. So it's way more fun in a way, depending on, again, it just depends what you do with it. So to have had that in the book and to have the other characters and also the perspectives that those other characters could have given us onto how the world works would have made the book pop, because it is a unique world. So explore it. We don't even really, honestly, get to explore anything different from any other book. Oh, what, a Colosseum? I've seen that. What, I've seen a military school or a school or whatever where they have fights against each other and they decide who's better. I've seen that. So where's the uniqueness, you know?
Yeah. I would completely agree, and especially with the like idea of, you know, this missed potential for what could have been really interesting. But it just, yeah, this book has quite a bit of problems. Like I said before, structurally, the fact that the like actual setting of the book doesn't kick in until like 36% the way through a 26-hour book, insane. The fact that our main character in this like underdog story is actually like hiding the fact that he's way more qualified than everyone else around him for most of the book, so he doesn't feel like an underdog at all. um and the book is trying to be nuanced in some ways. Like, it wants to be like, see, not everyone in the empire is terrible, and the common people are just, you know, like, they're stuck in this situation. You have to look, because it shows you people who are like, it's black and white, you're either with them or against them. And then they're like, wow, look at those people, those are bad people. But unfortunately, this himself is such a blunt instrument where like he needs to be too good. And I don't just mean like too good at everything that he does, which he is. But he needs to be good morally in a way that really complicates. I almost wish he had been more of what the more similar to the group that's like, oh, you're either with them or against them. Everything's black and white, baby. fuck it, we'll kill lots of people. But because that's a lesson to learn. Like if we start with a
Mm-hmm.
character who's like, fuck it, I don't care if the common people die, there with the hierarchy, and then he learns, oh wow, everybody's kind of a prisoner of this system, and you know the things that happen, and that's not the way to fight against it, and if I am, I have to blah blah blah. You know, that's growth. But no, this
he never has to grow.
Yeah, our incredible babyito boy, he already knows that lesson. He's telling the other people from the start, hey guys, don't you understand the nuance of empire and that the small people?
I am ascended beyond all of your
I'm already woke.
Yeah, like, exactly.
And it just, especially because he was a fucking monarchist, just pisses me the fuck off.
She says with her cat toy in her hand, like a whip.
Toy. I've been using it to distract them from, because they keep just crying at the door. Like if that door would have stayed open, they both would still be asleep in the spots they were sleeping in prior to the door closing. But the minute the door was closed on them, they were like, well, now I'd like to leave. So I've been trying to do that.
It's a cat.
Real quick, Chris M says.
Oh, go ahead. Go ahead. No, go ahead.
Chris M says, I felt like it leaned too much towards the people need to fight harder. Nonanon says, the wokest prince in the world. Indeed. It's just, and it also just is kind of boring. And
again, it's well written enough that it's like a sugar medicine go down. I was gonna say it's like a buttery piece of like bad meat. If you put it just slides right down, because the prose is fine. Like the prose is totally fine. Could it be improved with description and some of that type of stuff? The action, yes, the action scenes were okay. Overall, though, the prose was fine. It's the content and it's the progression.
Structure, theme.
There was one other thing I just wanted to say before we actually go into stuff. What I would have really liked, actually, way more of, especially since we're in a time where there are terrorist attacks. We have a terrorist organization who is attacking the government, or not the government, the Keten, and everything. And there's this one scene that we're going to talk about where a massive amount of people are murdered. And when they get wiped out, the people that had those people beneath them had a sudden jolt, but we barely get any insight into that, because one character that we talk to through this is like, well, lucky for me, there was only like 20 of my Octavii there or something like that. So I didn't get that much of a thing. I thought that idea was fascinating. I was like, wait a second. How cool would it be to get a scene from somebody else's perspective too? How cool would it have been to see a scene here where somebody's doing something and all of a sudden they see somebody beside them just fall, and then other people just fall, and they're falling all around them, and they're just like, what's happening? Like, where is this? And they're all like dazed and confused, and finally we get the one character going. That's such a cool concept, that you can be taken down in an instant from something that you wouldn't expect to be able to happen except for from a mass attack, and then to have several mass attacks where it does do that. I just thought that would be kind of cool.
Yeah, and it's also a cool inherent flaw in the system, because if everything is based on people being alive and ceding their will, murder is a huge problem. Murder is not just a person-to-person interpersonal conflict. Murder now is attacking the very foundations of power and logistics of this world. The other thing is, I found the end of the book and the magical secret at the heart could have been really interesting, but it just needed to be more of the book. The book ends, and I'm like, what the fuck is gonna happen? Like, I want to know what's happening there, but I have no interest in Keten. I have no interest. And also, another thing is, you have this cool magic system, the whole will thing, and then the majority of the book is at a place where nobody can use will. It's illegal to do it. And I'm like,
see, that's what I was getting at before. I'm like, why even?
Yep.
Why bring us to a school where you can't do that?
Like, this, unfortunately, feels like.
And also, another question: why at this school are the higher class students not getting seating from the lower class students?
They're not allowed to use will, Katie. This author wanted
But that's the real world, Maria, which is what they said they were trying to recreate.
The author wants to have his cake and eat it too.
I
You know, he wants to physically look at the pretty cake and be like, "Wow, look at this cake," and then also eat it at the same. Like you can't look at this freaking gremlin. What are you doing, bruh?
I like the way he like smacked his lips. Well, I mean, cats is cat lips, I guess. He like smacked his lips and then licked his paw, and he was just like, "Bitch, this is my chair."
Don't scratch it, please. I like this chair. It's a very nice chair, and you're a very rude cat. Well, look at that rude cat. Okay, sorry, guys. Distraction over. Let's start with the plot. We're 41 minutes into this video, and we haven't started. So the plot of this book starts where our guy Vis, he's at the prison that he works at, and I have to explain sappers. So, like I mentioned, this entire world works off of people at the bottom giving will to people at the top, but it can't just run on people being conscious and giving will. You also need a prison system where everyone who has done anything wrong gets put into on a sapper. And sappers are these stones that nobody's really sure.
A sappa, as they say. I'm not doing it good.
No one really knows why they work. It's something that has been around for a while that the hierarchy benefits from. But you like put somebody on this white stone, and then it literally saps their will from them, and they're in a state of like half awake, half asleep, just having their life force drained from their fucking body to power the thing. So it's like a gnarly fate, but like this is what prison is. And our boy,
you know what I kind of pictured? I pictured a combination of the Matrix, you know, where they use humans as batteries, but not that aesthetic. I had the aesthetic of the necromongers a little bit, and you know, Riddick. But with like cleaner lines.
Yeah.
So like I was like imagining, because I'm pretty sure it's described like a sapper is basically like, imagine like a, you know, a cot, not a cot, but you know, a laying area. And it's just like, I think it's described as being smooth, almost like a mirror.
White stone.
Oh, okay. There we go.
It's like a big rectangular white square, white rectangle.
So it reminds me of Dune even more.
Yeah.
It's that minimalist.
And there's just people lying on it. Like, just naked and getting their will sapped from them. And Chris M is completely correct. I did have a little bit of the a bit of Blood Over Brighthaven vibes here of this powering society.
I also really like Park Z's point right there, which is something that I asked myself too. No investigation on where this will goes. Do a certain amount of people need to be imprisoned at all time in order to run infrastructure? Now that is something I wondered when it got brought up at first. I was like, oh, like why do they have the need for extra will other than no pun intended, willingly given? Yep. And then I was like, oh, wait a second. I wonder if like a secret's going to be they're just like imprisoning people for battery power. Yep. And I don't think it ever gets into that.
Nope, not at all. And the thing is, you start this and you're in this prison where people's will is literally being sucked out of them to power shit. And you're like, ooh, fascinating. Are we going to have a guy from the inside work on, you know, like with this prison industrial complex?
Yeah.
Sapper industrial complex and this whole thing. And like, and there's obviously a conspiracy because like how higher powered official comes in, interviews one of the prisoners, and you can tell that they're like, oh, we know you didn't commit a crime. And you're like, oh my God, some of these people didn't commit crimes. And like, what if this had been, no, you're not going to get any of this. The trappings of the prison was actually quite interesting. I really enjoyed the kind of like dark, dank vibe and like the brief bit of characterization we get from the guy who works in the prison.
I liked that too.
Hey, sorry.
Hey. I also
no. Come here, punk.
I see where you get the tainted cup vibes from, considering that, because we always start out in like a morgue or something at the beginning, and it definitely had that vibe. Or not a morgue. I guess one was like a bank. No, it's always a crime scene. So yeah, like crime scene, morgue, whatever. Here, while you continue this, I'm just going to go grab, I'm not going to take the time to make myself an espresso because that would take too long, even though I wanted to finish this first. So I'm going to go grab another one and a couple more olives so that way I can give myself something to suck. Whoa.
Okay.
I don't even know how to say that.
Yep. That's what you went with. But
I think I
anyway,
need to wait. One other while I'm thinking about it because it was right there on the floor. Not relevant at all, but I hope you all enjoy. Here's my school photo that I received. I look awful. I look like some senator's greasy daughter. Look at that greasy hair.
oh my gosh.
Look at how sweaty I look.
I think your hair is definitely doing a thing, but
Not good.
I think the rest of you looks really cute. But
Look, I threw on that little cardigan thing you see me there in, and I threw the jewelry on in 30 seconds before taking my picture. And prior to that, I was sweating like a whore in church. So, because it was in the middle of the teaching day. So, but anyway, all right, I'll be back.
yeah. And our guy, he works with this other dude in the thing. His job is to like clean prisoners, feed them. Chris M made a point about how the hell do these two people manage to like there's hundreds of prisoners, like there's the logistics of how this prison works, not great. But then this really high powerful guy comes in and he's like, hi, my name is Hospius. I'm here, I need to talk to one of your recently transferred prisoners. And they look at his stuff and they're like, okay, you can go look at them, but this is going to have to escort you down. So this takes him down. And at one point, Hospius looks and he's like, oh my God. And this is like, wow, you've never seen a sapper before, how this works. Yeah, this is what it's like for them. And like the sappers are like slightly tilted so that any effluence can be cleaned easily, but you have to like clean the people regularly and also feed them somehow. Anyway, but he takes him to this one prisoner and wakes him up, and it's not a nice thing to wake someone up before they're actually done with their sapper time, because like it's a shitty existence, and being brought to consciousness in the middle of it, not fun. But anyway, he wakes this guy up and he starts speaking in a language that they assume this will not be able to speak. And the main guy, and he's like, don't panic, don't move. And again, this is pretending he doesn't understand anything. And he's like, hey, when you were at the weird school with Viridius, what happened with Sabror? And the guy's like, I don't know. We were trying to do something with Obsidium and Lucium. And the guy's like, what was it? What was it? The guy who's there investigating is like, what was it about? What was happening? And the guy in the sap is like, no, you have to release me, otherwise I'm not telling you anything. And the guy's like, I can't release you, buddy. And he's like, then fuck you. And then he turns to Vis and he's like, don't put me back. I can't do it. It's a shitty existence. And it's supposed to be like this horror of what this man is feeling. And again, if we stayed in the prison system or anywhere near the idea of people being sapped for power, it would be quite chilling. But unfortunately, the book is going to you stare at this scene, this setting, and then just completely look away and go somewhere else. When I tell you, the beginning of this book is such whiplash of the different things that happen in it, like the setting just changes so much. Anyway, so then when the guy like is freaking out and is like, don't put me back on demand, he like goes to attack Hospius, the guy, the high-powered guy who came to interview him. And Vis gets in front of him, and the guy accidentally pulls him to touch the sapper. Now, if you touch a sapper, it's supposed to fuck you up. Like, fuck you up real good. That's why these people, like, to wake people up from the sapper, you literally just raise them up by a chain so they're no longer touching it. Like, that's it. But if they touch it, they out. But Vis falls upon the sapper and has a not great feeling. He's like, ooh, that doesn't feel good. But he doesn't pass out, nor does anything happen. And he's like, wow, I really hope Hospius, that high-powered guy who's here, didn't notice that I touched the fucking sapper and nothing happened. And Hospius, he's playing dumb. He's like, wow, what a weird thing. Good thing you didn't touch the sapper. Vis is like, yeah. And he's like, wow, Vis, you seem like a pretty, like, smart guy. You handled yourself with decorum. What's your name? Where are you at? He's like, oh, I'm at an orphanage. I'm from this other place previously. And he's like, well, maybe Vis, maybe you should get a better job. I'll see what happens. I wouldn't be surprised if you have a better job real soon. And then Vis is like, goodbye. The guy leaves, and then the guy who works with Vis is like, Vis, why don't you stay the night? You don't have to go. And the idea is, Hrolf, the guy who works in the prison with Vis, is like, I know where you go after this is not good. and if you want, you can just stay here, and that's fine. And this is like, no, Hrolf, you know I must leave and go do what must be done. And you're like, what the fuck does this guy do after prison work if he's supposed to just be here? Well, what he does is he goes and he bare knuckle boxes for money. He lives at an orphanage, and he works at the prison, and he's supposed to stay at the prison overnight sometimes, but he worked out a deal with Hrolf, his prison worker.
Wow, we
who's
haven't
an
gotten
older
past
guy.
the prison. Damn.
No, I'm at the part where he's gone to the thing, but I'm explaining the situation.
Oh, yeah.
Where if Hrolf lets him leave at night, so he can go do other stuff, he gives Hrolf a portion of his pay, and Hrolf gets to benefit. But anyway, so he goes off, and he's ready to fight, and he's gonna do his fighty stuff, and he makes money from this. And the lady who we're introduced to a bunch of characters at the start of this that are just so inconsequential to
Real
everything.
Quick. Yes, real quick, because I would like to imagine the smoky mistress lady of a lounge, but like kind of burly. That's a character, and she's a pretty powerful seeming character because those characters usually stand out quite a bit, because of their confidence and like the ambiance they bring to a room. She never comes back. She is in charge of the fighting stuff, the cockfights, chicken fights, whatever. Like I just, well, you know what I mean.
Yeah.
But the point being is that because it's not all men that are in the ring, I'm pretty sure. I don't know why I'm lingering about this.
Yes.
But this is haunting me for some reason. But anyway, I think what's really haunting me is the sound of your cat crying in the background.
Yeah, I'm so sorry, everyone, and Will. I'm stuck with this.
No, it's
right
fine. It's fine. I just heard the meow.
Yeah,
Meow, and then I just kept going on my like little. Anyway, the point is she's there. She's in charge. Whatever. Likes Viz, but doesn't like him enough to be nice. And then you've got like this other character that's like her like bodyguard person who gets things done. You've got this lady, or this mysterious figure that's been coming and asking about him, and wanting to get like to talk to him, an audience with him basically, and he's not allowing it to happen, and he's like
With
dodging
Viz.
her.
Yeah,
with Viz. And then of course you've got another character who does the bets, and he also likes Viz, because who doesn't like Viz? Well, I guess all the school, but and he's like, oh, good luck, boy. It's because like you're gonna go up against what does he go up against?
I think it's a Septimus, or I think it's, so I don't remember all the things, but basically it's 2 ranks up. He's used to fighting guys who are one rank up from an Octavi who are using an amount of will. He's done that before, and he's won before, but this time he's going up someone who is double that power, and he's like, oh shit, I don't want to do this. And they were like, ha ha ha. And the lady's like, ha ha, yeah, you have to fight this guy. And he's like, oh fuck. So he goes to make a bet on himself, because he's like, I'm just gonna bet that I can stay in the ring at least
for a minute and 30 seconds.
Yeah, a minute and 30 seconds with this guy, and that way, I'll get some money out of losing tonight, because he doesn't think he's gonna win. Nobody thinks he's gonna win. It's a pretty safe bet, kind of thing. And he's just like, I'll do this. And him and the guy who places all the bets kind of have a deal, because he's able to use the information Viz gives him to help line his own pockets. But anyway, he goes into this fight, and you're like, awesome. We get to know that he has won fights before, but this is a great place to show that this character, who is a prince, who has a lot of benefits, still cannot just brute force his way through the unjust system of the hierarchy. That someone who isn't even as trained as he is, but who has so much more will be able to pound his face in. That's an awesome character moment. Number one, it sets up the inherent unfairness of the system. The fact that at a certain point, you cannot just defeat the fact that people are ceding the power from other people, and you're just out here raw dogging life. Is that what happens? No. This is like, oh, I just gotta, and then he like nearly kills the guy, and everybody's like, oh my god, and like, because he nearly killed the dude, they have to pretend, and again, he was supposed to lose. They pretend he cheated and that he was actually ceding power, so it actually wasn't. But like, he legit wins. There is no reason he should win. And the way they do it is that like, he just got so angry, he lost his temper, and
he goes berserk. His big badass main character moment, he gets taken over by Hollow Viz.
Yeah.
And he's able to just like brutally annihilate
Yeah.
his.
And we're given a couple caveats. You know, this guy, while he was ceding a lot of power, he wasn't actually like a great fighter. And also, he was distracted by trying to peacock for the crowd and stuff. But still, it shouldn't. It's easy. It's too easy. But anyway, he does land a couple blows on Viz. Viz is kind of beat up. But the lady's like, the lady who runs this whole ring is like, you can't fight here anymore, bro. I just had to say you were cheating to save face and not lose everyone a ton of money. So you can't fight here anymore. And he's like, what am I supposed to do? This was how I made money. And she was like, you're gonna have to go back to those shitty fighting places I found you at. And he's like, oh god damn it. And then he's like, oh
Which
man,
doesn't make any sense to me. She could have marketed that differently, in
Yep.
my opinion.
But
But
again-
I just, it was just for plot's sake.
yeah, it's for plot's sake and to kind of build up that, you know, he's lost, like, his position has become tenuous in life. And so he's like, man. And luckily the guy who does the bets was like, here's your money back, kid. I actually you know, good luck. And so he goes to the orphanage, and the lady at the orphanage is like, how is work? Give me your money that I want. And I also forgot to mention the hospice guy, the rich guy and powerful guy who came to the prison earlier, tipped him and gave him some silver that he is hiding away from himself. But anyway, and he goes, the lady at the orphanage is a bitch. Like, she's a bitch. Everyone at the orphanage hates Viz for some reason. There's no camaraderie with him and the other orphans. Everybody's just like, ooh, that Viz, he's a little shit and we hate him. He won't use
For
will.
no reason.
Fuck that.
At
for no
all.
reason. It literally is oh me, poor me at the orphanage. Like, there's not even like a handful of kids who are like, oh, Viz, you okay? You're like, nothing. Everybody's just like, fuck that guy. We think he stinks.
We need an underdog. We
Yeah.
need him to be hated. So
yeah.
there's only place for us to love him.
And the madam lady at the orphanage is like, well, tomorrow there's a high-powered senator coming to adopt someone, so you need to help me. You'll have to wake up early, even though he was like, I'm going to sleep, tomorrow's my day off. She's like, you have to wake up and help me organize all the kids and get them ready. And he's like, oh, fuck. And so he gets up the next morning, he's helping her. Again, all the kids are assholes to him.
Have we mentioned how old Viz is?
He is 17.
Just so I want you guys to all also just picture a 17-year-old doing all of this.
Yeah.
So let's go on now.
But anyway, and then the senator comes and he's meeting with different kids, and she's like, you need to stay out of the way. Nobody's gonna want to adopt your stanky ass. And then
Yeah.
and so he's just hiding away in his room, minding his business. And then one of the kids comes and is like, the senator wants you. And he's like, what? Why does he want me? And then he goes, and the guy who's there is Hospice from the prison 2 nights ago or like yesterday. Like, somehow in like 24 hours, this guy's fucking found him. And he's like, hi, my name is Olkiskor. I am a high-powered person in the military. He's like a Quintus or something. He's like, he's not the most powerful, but he's pretty high up there. Like,
They actually don't even know that he's a Quintus yet. Not that it matters, but he actually keeps a part of his rank to himself for various reasons. So
but
it's like
everyone knows he's power. Like, he's up there, you know.
Well, I also thought it was a bait and switch on purpose to make the readers think that he might have actually not been anything, and that he was actually like one of the rebels or something, because that's like the way he kind of framed it, because he was lying about who he was when he went to the prison.
Yep. And
then he's lying about who he is at the orphanage, so you can't help but think, oh, he's got like documentation that's good enough to fake so that who he is, so he must be like a spy or something.
Yeah.
No.
Nope. But
I
anyway,
thought that was a weak bait and switch
and
too.
he's like, hello, Vis, saw you yesterday. And Vis is like, how the fuck did you find me? And he was like, don't worry about that. But he basically starts quizzing him. And the idea is that you get is that this guy has been looking for a kid that he can adopt for a specific purpose. And he's like, he asks Viz a bunch of questions because he's like, I saw you sneak away to the biblioteca. Because again, Viz goes to the biblioteca and gets, learning stuff's happening. And he's like, what do you do with the biblioteca? And he's like, I have a girlfriend that I like, and I'm not going to tell you about her because she's my girlfriend. And Viz is like acting his heart out. And the guy's like, I don't buy that shit for a second. I know you're educated. And he quizzes him and he's like, yes, you're educated. And he's like, okay, I'm adopting you. I need someone to go to the academy on Solvages because I'm investigating that school and I need someone to go in there, go up the rankings really quick for my purposes. And it's going to be you, Pikachu. And everybody at the orphanage, like all the kids are like, fuck you, Viz. He was so supposed to adopt us. Why would he have to adopt your stinky old ass?
Yeah.
Even the lady who owns the orphanage is like, no, I need to talk to you. You don't want to adopt him. Let me tell you. And he was like, no, fuck you, bitch. Like, and it's just this whole like thing. And he also gives like Viz like a kind of riddle, like how to figure something out. And Viz is able to kind of put 2 and 2 together and figure. And he's like, okay, we're doing this. So he takes Viz out of the orphanage and he basically kind of explains the plot, which is his brother, Seror, or his plot, like what his plan is. His brother Sarah went to the academy. He also graduated from the academy. Anyone who is in an upper level of the hierarchy went to this academy, which places, like once you get through it, you can get placed in military, governance, or in religion. And a thing that happened 6 years ago was this new guy took over the school, Viridius. And ever since then, it has become even more closed off, really weird, and
super secretive. And so Alkiscor, as well as potentially others, as Alkiscor says, believe that there's something hokey going on the island and that they're hiding like a weapon that they've discovered or something like that.
And his brother died at the academy, and everybody was like, it was a suicide. And Alkiscor is like, absolutely not. I think Viridius murked my brother, and that he's hiding something. And ever since then, weird shit has been going on at the school, and I need you to invade it and investigate for me.
The one thing that also stands out to Alkiscor is that it's not just his brother who was potentially murdered, but there are other very hokey deaths that are going on in certain all the people that graduated on the same level and everything, which also never he explains. I'm pretty sure he just is like, oh, there are mysterious deaths happening, because he doesn't talk about his brother yet at all, actually. Because remember, he doesn't learn about his brother until later. Then he's like, oh, wow, is this just a personal vendetta? At first, he's like, there are mysterious deaths happening, and I don't trust this new headmaster of this place, so we think that there's a big secret that they're keeping, and that somewhere on the island where there are ruins also, like there might be like a secret weapon of some sort of pre-cataclysm, which is what they call, the same thing to the pre-elves and dwarves coming to, insert Fantasylandia here.
And so he has to investigate and go and do this thing, but first he needs to be trained because he's not ready as is. So Alkiscor's like, I'm going to take you to my home. And then we're going to do some hecking training. And so they go into a transvex, which are these giant cubey guys that float above the world by will and go places. And they're basically like unmanned ships, but they're just squares that float. And they're in a transvex, and he's like, yeah, so you'll get because like he's a Alkiscor Telemus, which is like a good name, an old family. And he's like, yes, you're going to get training. I won't be there, but there's someone there who will train you, who I trust implicitly, yada, yada. And during their transport, the transvect gets taken down. It just falls poop out of the sky, hits the ground, and they're being attacked by people. And Alkiscor's pissed, and he like literally makes someone's head blow up. And then the other people are going to attack. But then an arrow comes out of nowhere and hits Alkiscor into the leg, and he passes out. Like, stone cold. We almost Viz is like, did that motherfucker die? He's breathing, just passed out. And this shouldn't happen. He seeds, and he gets enough power from other people that he should have been able, like a normal arrow, he should have been able to like easy breezy beautiful cover squirrel, no problems. So he's like, wow, what kind of arrow can take down a Quintus, a Magnus Quintus? And as Chris M makes the point, yeah, because he's not only a Quintus, he's a Magnus Quintus, which means fuck all to the reader. So you need to read the explanation of how the Senate works, which I didn't do because I didn't want to. But anyway, and then out of nowhere, Viz takes down the other 2 men that were alive that were trying to attack, and he takes them down. Because, again, he's a fighter, and he's been doing it for the past, bare knuckling. And
they're slower than he is, and he saw the punch coming from miles away because he's been used to fighting will users, and these are not will users.
And then He takes those guys down, and then a lady pops out of nowhere, and she's like, "Fuck you! You've made my job hard." And basically, this is the lady that was at the theater
The
where those
hooded,
fights were happening,
mysterious.
who
Yes.
kept trying to talk to him, and she's like, we are with the Anguis, and Anguis is the revolutionary group fighting against the Empire, and the people that he had just taken out and that they were fighting against previously are also Anguis, but she's a different Anguis.
Sorry, I'm still here. It just, my thing came unplugged.
No, you're fine. And she's like, I need you to join the school. And I need to train you because I need you to join that school that Ulkiscore wants you to join, but I need you to become Domitor. I don't just need you because Ulkiscore is basically like, I need you to get to level 3 and do the Idiquium thing. And she's like, I want even more than that, so I need to have you trained. And she's like, he's like, Ulkiscore's gonna have me trained. And she's like, no, because I need more out of you, and I need you to be my spy. I need more training. And he's like, no, I'm not gonna do that. I'm gonna help Ulkiscore do this thing that I'm planning to do, because if he becomes Domitor, then they want him to become like an actual member of the
Anguis.
like not the Anguis. They want him to actually get involved with the running of the Empire. And Ulkiscore basically told him, if you do what I need, you can take any position, including like a far off ambassadorial role where you'll never have to seed nor use will. Because at first Ulkiscore's like, okay, you don't want to seed. There are positions where you'll never have to seed. You can just get will. And he's like, no, I don't want any will. I don't want to use nor take will. And Ulkiscore's like, okay, you can do an ambassadorial position in these other places. And Viss is like, that's perfect. I help this guy out, and then I get the exact thing I want, to fuck off out of the hierarchy to a position where I never actually have to use will, because that's his that's his line in the sand that he's not gonna fucking cross. But the Anguis, if he helps them and he becomes Domitor, then he's going to have to take a more high-powered position, and because they're going to want him to work. And he's like, I'm not doing that. I'm not seeding shit. And so he's like, no, I'm not helping you. I'm going with Ulkiscore. And she's like, I know your true name is Diago, and you're the previous Prince of Seuss. And if you don't listen to me and help us, we'll let everybody know. And he's like, holy shit, how do you know that? And she's like, don't worry about me. And then she's basically like, okay, if you're gonna go with, because Ulkiscore starts stirring, she's like, if you're gonna go with him, I need you to meet me at the Pneumakia, which is this big celebration that's going to happen in a couple of months. So you
the
need
Colosseum.
You need to get yourself to the Colosseum.
The ship Colosseum.
Yeah, you need to get yourself to the Colosseum so we can meet other. And if you don't meet me, I will release your identity to the hierarchy. And again, if they know he's the Prince of Seuss, they're going to kill him because he's supposed to already be dead.
But wait, so this is one thing that kept going through my mind at this time. I'm like, why? Why would they kill him at this point? Oh my God, I'm gonna have to let my dog in a second. He's being a baby. But I was like, why would they need to kill him? And I was like, and then later on in the book, you know, we'll get to this at some point, but it's like, you know, it's like, oh, his family may or may not have had a secret weapon. And so I was like, oh, like maybe they're all magic users. Like, you know what I mean? Like they know some secret technique. And so therefore it's in the blood or something like that. And so of course I was thinking, oh, like later on I was like, oh, okay, so I guess that might make sense why they might kill him if they know about this secret weapon, but I don't think that they do, or if that is why they killed them. I don't know, but nonetheless, you know, I just felt like it was kind of like, I felt like it was is MacGuffin the right word? It's not.
Yes.
It's not. I felt like it was a MacGuffin for him to be fearful of his true identity coming out because it didn't feel like it mattered, honestly.
Yeah, maybe not a MacGuffin. I agree, because I feel like if they found out and he was already in this position, they could have been like, "Look, we have a former Prince of Seuss,
exactly,
who is part of the hierarchy, and he's become one of our good old boys."
Wouldn't that be great?
It would be excellent PR. This kid just like nobody. Again, the book is not thinking creatively, or because if I was part of a hierarchy, I would absolutely take people from the monarchies that we destroyed and make them part of the hierarchy, give them benefits, all that jazz, so that you get all the shit, you know. But that's not what they do. Anyway, so he takes Ulkiscore. They get on the transvac. He's kind of injured at this point. The transvac goes off and he passes out. He wakes up. He's in a hospital bed on Solivardus, which is the island that the academy is on, the school, and there's 3 kids in his room. Like, oh my god, what happened?
He's
What happened to that
what?
transvect? Who is this kid? Ooh,
He's
and they give
waking
him,
up.
yeah, they give him water, and it's this one girl, and she's like, "Hi, I'm Amisa. What happened on the transvect?" And he's like, "I don't know. It was so crazy. They were attacking, and then they were like, oh, so you saved the senator." Kind of vibe, and then they get shooed away, and this guy comes in, and he's like, "Oh wow, this must be the doctor of the school, just like a lowly doctor." And the guy's like, "Oh, so glad you're here. So and you're awake. How are you doing? You seem to be okay." Blah blah blah. And then he starts questioning him about stuff, and he's like, "Wow, this doctor guy's asking a lot of questions." And he's trying to like he hasn't had enough time to think about the story he's going to tell, because he obviously can't be like, "Yes, the Anguis attacked, and then another Anguis lady, unrelated to the first 2 that attacked us, was like, you need to help me." And then I chose to stay with Okiscore. So he's like, how am I going to lie my way through this? And he's kind of thinking of it up on the sly. And then Okiscore comes in and is like, Viridius, hi, what are you doing? And you're like, oh, Viridius is the guy who runs the school, the guy that we're here to spy on. And our boy Vis was just talking to him like a normal person. And Vis is like, man, I hope I didn't say anything. And then the vibe they get is that Viridius was less concerned. Like, he was looking for information that wouldn't have gotten Vis or Alkeyscore in trouble, but that he was interested about. But anyway, Alkeyscore comes in, talks to Vis, and gets the version Vis is willing to tell him, because obviously he's not going to be like, yeah, the Anguis came, and we're like, would you like to double cross the guy you're double crossing other people with? And they end up, so he leaves the school, and Alkeyscore is like, wow, those 3 kids, don't trust them. We don't know if they gave you, because like he's really like weak, our boy Vis, and he's kind of like lightheaded, and they're like, maybe those kids poisoned him. And he was like, yeah, those are 3 kids in the powerful families. And so they get back on a different transfact, and they go to Katen, which is like the big place, and he's like,
And this is
wow.
where we get our whole like, this is the city of this really unique, amazing place, and it looks just like a blur because
Yes.
there are, again, no details. All it's basically described as is so big and so vast that he can't see the end of it, and with so many pieces and people moving, that he feels like claustrophobic at one point. I think that's actually during the celebration that we get later, but I think it might come up now. And then you also get a few descriptions of like the less glitzy areas as they're going through as well. And then if I recall correctly, this is just when they get on the their whatever personal transportation they have to get to his estate. Yeah.
So they get off the transfact, and there's this point where they're kind of looking at like the Colosseum from a distance, and he's like trying to, because he's trying to like, how am I going to get to the Pneumakia in a couple of weeks so that I can meet that Sedosha lady so she doesn't release my identity to everyone. And at one point, because Okiscore is like, look upon Katen, the beautiful city, my city. I'm a Katenian. I'm so happy about it. And he's like, wow, it's so big. Even though he's like, fuck Katen, fuck the hierarchy.
He's like, this is disgusting. I've never seen a more disgusting display of humanity.
Yeah.
Like, that is actually what he, but this, Maria was getting into it, but this is like a scene where he starts plotting for the future, and he sees like we said, the Colosseum area, and he's like, oh, what is that? And he's like, oh, that's where they do the Pneumakia, blah blah blah.
And
with the games.
like, it's so incredible. It's even better when you're up close. And he was like, maybe one day I'll get to see it. And he's like, I'm laying the groundwork so that one day in the future, when I ask to go to the Pneumakia, he'll be like, I inspired him to want to go to the Pneumakia.
I just think it's
I'm a
so
freaking dad.
Like, I don't know if this is believable to me. Like, that was a part that took me out for 5 seconds. Because, like, with so many positive traits in this character, as we've already complained about, to have him be so many steps ahead would be kind of cool in a character that is, like, weaker in other ways. So it feels like and also, like, if it was emphasized or discussed how he had to do that in order to avoid, like, I mean, I guess it briefly says, oh, to avoid getting his true identity revealed. But like he doesn't need to think that many steps ahead usually in order to do these kinds of things. It's because this is a particularly complex situation. So I maybe like could have believed it if it had to do with like the fighting ring or something. Like if in fact the author himself laid down clues to a specific interest at the beginning, so that way it made more sense that he is doing so much groundwork right now for something that is really like he's socially manipulating this older dude, and it just feels kind of like a skill he shouldn't have. Does that make sense?
Yep, but I bet you the author would be like, but he was trained as a prince and you have to learn, and an ambassador, so he's had to
I
learn lots of
guess
social manipulation. And he spent the last 3 years hiding his identity and lying to people, so he's
his
actually got
stats are
skills.
just, but his stats are
too
maxed
good.
out.
Yes, they
Like
are.
it's too much.
So yeah, he lays the groundwork so he can go to the Numakia. They get to Ulquiscore's place, and Ulquiscore's like, okay, let me introduce you to Lannistia. And Lannistia is this like 25-ish year old woman.
I'm picturing
27.
Wednesday Addams, but with like glasses.
Yeah, she's got dark glasses that she wears, and this is the person that is going to be training him. It's the person that Ulquiscore has like ultimate trust in with this whole situation, and who knows what the plan is. Nobody else knows. We also learn at this point that Ulquiscore has a wife who is away a lot because she's also involved in politics and has a job. And, you know, she's not just any hierarchy woman. She's a working woman. She's not here to just have babies.
Which is abnormal in this society because apparently you have something called birthright, I think is part of the birthright thing.
Birthright is just the value of life and not killing.
Are you sure it's not part of it? Because I think it's part of the whole idea of preserving the most amount of people possible. And so it's like women aren't really supposed to hold higher positions. So that way they
but there's
can be.
Plenty that do. I mean, the academy was pretty evenly split.
Oh, no, what I mean, though, it's actively stated in the book. It says at one point, oh, yeah, women don't really get jobs. And then I was confused when we got to the school and I was like, wait, are these girls
many
here?
Women in jobs.
Yeah, and so like I was kind of confused. It's because we never saw an example of like a lady that wasn't supposed to work and therefore was stuck in a specific position. I don't think we do anyway. So it was kind of weird. But that does get specifically stated not long after this at some point. I don't remember at what point, but at some point.
Hey! Sorry, there's cats fighting.
I think it's a part where he's talking to Lannistia, and he thought it was odd that a young woman who was still childbearing age or something like that. I don't remember, but it was something like that. And it comes up, and I just remember thinking to myself, wait, but then why are there so many daughters attending this school? So I don't know.
I got nothing. But yeah, and we don't meet his wife. She's not here. She was gonna try come, but she couldn't. She couldn't get away from her job. And so he kind of starts his training with Lannistia. Ulquiscore has to like fuck off, and Ulquiscore is like characterized as like a pretty chill dude. He's obviously got like this big bugaboo about figuring out what the fuck is happening on Salvages and in the academy and all of that stuff and what Viridius is up to. But besides that, pretty chill, nice dude. Like he's described as
he seems fair.
Yeah, fair guy. And this starts like the training stage with Lannistia, where he has to like he's getting grilled academically. He has to learn about that stuff. She's very hard.
The first night she literally comes into his bedroom and starts like choking him out and is like quizzing him on stuff. And I'm just like, so this is like one of the scenes that probably would have been, in my opinion, maybe better from Lannistia's perspective, maybe third person omniscient, as we said before, because it would have heightened, like, this is an example of where in the book it would have heightened the tension because you don't know who she is sneaking into his bedroom at night. And then, and then we get the outside perspective and we're like, oh no, is Viz going to be like, and if we get other perspectives, we could presume that maybe if we're jumping around enough, we might have one of our characters killed off.
But wait,
and then
we would know if that scene was told from Lannistia's point of view. We've already met her.
again, third
previously.
person omniscient. Well, you know, like if you mix the genre where it's like, and then a figure, again, it would be omniscient, and then it'd be like, and then a figure crept into the room of blah 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 blah,
Okay, so
and then
not from her point of view.
yeah, then Lanistia's voice choked out. What is 1 + 1 or whatever? You know what I mean? Like the point is like to provide that mysteriousness. I think that, or if you wanted to go into Lanistia's perspective and actually be in her mind as she's going in,
No,
that also works. But I think
the
the
third
first works
person.
better.
Yeah.
And then like that way we could have a bit of tension in the scene, and also we can get.
I guess I'm confused because I'm not sure why there would be more tension that way than him not knowing who is strangling him and asking him like initially.
I think that it's because it's Lanistia.
No, but why wouldn't I know it was Lanistia in the third person omniscient view? Because the minute she speaks, he knows it's Lanistia and it becomes obvious. And
it's more about the preamble to the moment itself, because he gets woken up suddenly. So if you had the preamble up into the sneaking into the this is just small things.
Yeah.
But like if you had that, and also that would provide opportunity for other potential details if you so wish to include in that part, because it's a different time of day. It's at the beginning before we know the lay of the land. It's from like we're following a character that knows the house. So like it could provide provides maybe I don't want to say just more tension. I just want to say it provides more opportunity for the author to do something unique.
Yeah. And listen, I completely agree that third person omniscient, kind of like how Dune is narrated, where it hops in and out of different characters' minds and but also just looks at a scene as a third party.
Yeah.
I think that would have greatly benefited this book, and that way certain things could have been secrets, could have been. But again, I'm going to make the argument that none of this needed to happen like this at all.
Oh yeah, well that
started
too.
at the school with flashbacks, either him thinking about things that happened or flashbacks to these different like specific scenes that made things very specific, and then we just put the Namakya in a slightly different place. But anyway. Him and Lanistia have a rough relationship. She's real gruff and grumpy, and she does like choke him. Like they have a day of lessons, and then the next morning or like that night, she chokes him out, asking him the same questions from earlier, but like slightly
to see how he does under pressure.
Which is a wild thing. And the next 2 months is going to make it seem like this school not only is like a school, but it's like a battle academy where it's so like you need to fight. And the thing is, it's going to make what actually happens at the school, because like there is like very little fighting classes. Like I thought this was going to be I was like, is this school basically like the school from Fourth Wing, where it's like just like people beating the shit, like students
it is painted
shit.
like that. Yeah, it's super painted like that. And also what Maria just said is, I remember when you get to a certain part in the book where finally like there's like a
fight,
not dueling, I guess. Dueling.
Yeah.
Like you get a dueling scene, and I'm like, oh wow, we're finally getting a dueling scene. But the way it's framed, it seems like it's rare for them to use these things. And I was just like, so then why did he have to, like, I mean, obviously he should know how to fight because he's in a dangerous, like, that's the way I reasoned, that the author reasoned, was that he should know all these things because dangerous people could be after him. Not that the school itself requires it, but it is also heavily implied that the school requires it, especially specifically when he asks Lanistia, this is just a school. And then Lanistia takes off her glasses and you see she has no eyes. They're all just scarred up and she has no eyeballs. And she's like, it'll take things from you.
Yes. So I think this is going to be like badass, like, you know, like again, much more akin to like the way the school was in Fourth Wing, where you have people actively beating the shit out of each other and like kids like dying left and right. So that's why like it's just, you're like, wow, what a shitty, like, because again, not the way to do a school, guys. And it's so you're given this idea that it's just like this cutthroat dog eat dog world, like the strongest shall survive, and then you get to the actual school and it's mainly just school, and there's no fighting classes or anything. But the thing that does happen, that we do learn in this 2-month period where he's training with Lanistia, is there's this thing called the Labyrinth, and Alkiskor and Lanistia basically stole the blueprints for the Labyrinth, because the Labyrinth is this like training structure that only started about 6 years ago-ish.
When our guy of
Meridius.
it became like the dean of the school or whatever, the principalis, if you will.
Yeah.
when he became the Prince of Palace, that's when it started being utilized.
Yeah.
Which actually, can I just say now,
Mhm.
that is actually a pretty like it is actually a pretty interesting concept for thematically for the labyrinth. Only because like you could see it as, I mean, and by interesting I mean it's cute. It's a cute metaphor for the labyrinth. Like the Minotaur is in the middle, and it's the monster, and it's finding the self and recognizing the self, the man before the beast, and with what happens in the end, it's a mirror. You see what the author
Yeah.
did? It's
Yeah.
really
Yeah. Yeah.
clever.
Nope. I
I
don't think.
actually think it's really it's decent. It's just
Yeah.
it's
Yeah. It's but like construct like for the first half, I was like, why are they doing any of this? Like, there's a huge
I know.
chunk of the book where I'm like, what the fuck is the labyrinth? And basically, it's this like uh obstacle course you have to get through where it's like a maze, but you can move the walls. There's a bracer, and it has
He's
these
gonna go
stones.
eat your
I know.
hair.
There's a bracer with stones on it, and you use the stones to make the walls move and shift so you can get through the labyrinth, because not only do you have to run through this labyrinth and physically move the walls around you using the stones on the bracer, but on top of that, there are people chasing after you that are trying to tag you, like tag you're it, and you, and the goal is to be able to get all the way through and get to the other side of the labyrinth without somebody tagging you. So it is a, and she's like, it's the ultimate test of will. You have to be able to fine tune the dials on the bracer to move everything.
And he's like, because at one point he's like, so what is this? How does this have to do with will exactly? And she's like, well, it's gonna fine tune your ability to multitask. Basically, that
Yeah.
is literally it. It's
And
to multitask.
Yeah, and it's being able to use like to
Use
like
your intelligence and the will, and like also if you push the things on the bracers just gently, even just a hair's breadth the wrong way, it won't work as well, and it'll like screw up the mechanisms. And if you do it hard enough, the whole piece will break off, and then I assume then I think it's presumed then you can no longer adjust that piece.
yeah. And then you have to stop and get it fixed. And basically,
Which
it's
seems
immediate disqualification of the run that you're doing.
Which, can we just say, the technology required for this in and of itself stands out by comparison to the rest of everything else, because we don't really see any I mean, I don't even think they have blood tests like in this world, or if they do, it's like in like a, you know, an obsidian flask, and they do a swirly motion and something's
Yeah.
supposed to happen. I don't know. It never
Yeah.
says what the guy's looking for when he does the flasks and all
It
the.
doesn't. And
Yeah.
the thing is, there's a point where he's like, "Wow, the way this is working is so beyond my comprehension." Lannister's like, "I'm not even going to explain it to you." And it's like
'Cause
the
it's
author was
such-
like, "Yeah, it feels like the author being like, phew, dodged having to explain how that works." But and so he has to start learning how to like manipulate the walls.
What, you know what? Wait a second. Pause real quick. I'm so sorry. But on the note of that blood thing, I didn't think about that before, but like at one point later on in the book, guys, Viz stabs his hand on something, and he's like, wow, that blood spot I left behind when I was secretly doing something is super noticeable. Hopefully they won't see it. And then I thought to myself, wait, if they see it, can they run a blood test and see who it's from?
Nope.
And then now that I'm thinking about this part, because earlier than in the scene that we're in right now, or no, later, there's a scene where some guy's gonna, like, you know, like a doctor dude's gonna check on Viz, and he's like, yeah, I just want some blood samples. And so he grabs some blood samples and he looks in the light of the thing, and he's like, no, not what I was looking for. And I'm just like, what are they using? Is this alchemy? Is this medicine? I don't understand. What are they using?
Yeah.
Maria.
I have no idea. And now that we finished the book, they're looking to see if his blood was tainted by something that we're not aware of. I have no idea. I've got nothing. I don't know if they put the blood into the certain vial and then it's supposed to turn a color if his blood's tainted. No idea.
Or is the glass like supposed to change color? That, like, there was a big focus on the glass color.
Islington does not have any interest in explaining this to you, Katie. Why are you asking these questions? Islington doesn't care. He really doesn't. Katie's right. There's so many cool moments where you could kind of like go into stuff. No, this author is not interested in explaining the like
It's
logistics
like,
of this world.
dude, do you actually love your world or not? Like,
And there's so many scenes of the kids learning stuff where they're like, yes, if you use the will this way, and there's these ways to imbue objects, and like none of it matters at all. And it also
look,
is so inconsequential. You can barely look at those stinkito babito boys.
they're crying.
Yeah, we both just have animals locked in with us that are fucking
Being
frustrated.
babies.
But yeah, so he's doing the training with Lannistia. He's learning how to get through the labyrinth, and she's like, everybody else is going to have practice using will. You have, because he's like, why are you training me this? Does everyone have experience with labyrinths before they get there? And they're like, no, the labyrinth is only at the school, only used at the school. And then he's like, so shouldn't everyone kind of just suck at the labyrinth to start? And she's like, well, the other people who are will users, you know, they're used to doing fine tuning. It's basically like saying like, you know, they've played football before, so they're going to be good at baseball.
Because at least they know sports.
Yeah, at least they know sports, and you have no sports.
Which, to be fair, there is some logic there, I guess. Like, you know.
But in retrospect, literally none. I still have no idea how the labyrinth, and because like eventually you discover that it's an absolute lie. There is no correlation. The reason that they're doing the labyrinth at the school has no correlation with it being the perfect test for will usage. It's not. Plenty of people got their educations before this. Can you please fucking relax, bro?
You have a demon.
I do, and he's trying to eat my hair. Let me tell you, give me 1 second. Please.
Watching his little paw reach out for your hair is.
Data is.
Are you texting your husband?
With me?
Come retrieve these creatures.
Keep crying.
Oh, there he goes. Oh,
he's
getting closer.
Praise.
Wait, Chris, I'm reading yours while Maria does this. By the way, they both say that they train for the labyrinth since birth, but at the same time, the labyrinth only became a thing 6 years ago, and they discover.
Yeah. Oh, thank God. Oh, I've lost my fucking cats. Thank goodness. Yeah, it's insane.
Never thought I'd hear her say that.
But yeah, so there's this the labyrinth and how it's used at the school and the whole thing of it being like this important part of training.
Wait, that's a big
I hate
plot
it.
hole.
It's a huge. The whole thing is a huge plot hole. I hate it. I hate it so much. It's a thing that existed 6 years ago, like that started only 6 years ago, and now it's like the basis of everything. And again, using will, which is being able to use the power that other people give you, is somehow correlates to being able to fine tune. It's like if you've ever played a string instrument, you have to put your finger in the exact right spot on the instrument to make the correct noise that you want. Because if you're off even a little bit, you're going to be out of tune. The note's going to be wrong.
Yeah.
It's why a lot of kids, when they start, put pieces of tape underneath.
Oh, yeah,
they still don't sound great, but they put pieces of tape so they know exactly where their fingers have to go. And basically, that's what moving these dials on this bracer is like, okay? This is such a dumb thing to get, but like that's what that is. To be able to move it to the exact right spot. And somehow using will, which is a thing that like just passively gets pumped into you. And again, because nobody actually uses will or learns how to use will, I have no idea how this correlates to will at all. It is so annoying.
But also, if they train from, I don't remember the train from birth part, but that doesn't mean anything. There's a lot I probably don't remember about this book. If they train from birth for this, and it's something that's so, you know what just occurred to me? Guys, they're not sevenths. The class, sevenths, which is the lowest class, they are not, they don't use the labyrinth.
No, you only get to start using it. Yeah, when you're in the 5th class. Or, no, I think when you're in the 6th is the first time. And it's like once a month, once every 2 months you get to go do something.
It's only, like, it was very rare. I thought this was going to be something, like, that they did frequently. And I thought that it was going to end up being something, like, where it's, like, you know, like magic class or something, but in action. So they were going to end up using things. I don't know what, because they don't use will on the island, which seems like it negates the whole purpose. Aren't you supposed, how do you know, where do you learn to use will then?
So they use will prior. Like the idea is these kids have been able to use will before they got here. He's the only one who hasn't.
But how do they learn, like, because if the school is meant for them to ascend, and therefore as you ascend, you become more powerful in the social structure, wouldn't you need more complex understanding of how to use the will in order to do your job?
They learn the theory behind will, but they don't actually practice any. Again, the whole thing, the author basically had to make it that the school was a place where nobody uses will because Vis doesn't use will. It's the only reason, because it makes no sense. You're training the Labyrinth, doing all of this stuff. You're learning the foundational theory behind it's like learning music theory, but you're not allowed to pick up the fucking instrument. And at the end of this, you take a big test that's supposed to be how good you are with the instrument that you have never touched, that you were supposed to have learned before. That like everybody. So basically, the idea of this school is everybody, and I'm going to continue using an instrument because I find it the best.
It's the same thing. It is an instrument.
Yeah. So basically, everybody else has been learning how to play this instrument from birth. Our boy Vis has never touched the instrument because it's a morally complex instrument that it's his moral line in the sand that he's not crossing. But all of these other kids who have come to the school come from families where they have been able to use will. They've been doing it, and I think that's the thing that they've been doing since they were born, is using will. So they all know how to play the instrument. They come to this school, and for some reason, the school, even though the minute they graduate, they're going to have to go back to using will, says, no, you don't get to play the instrument here. You're going to learn about the instrument. You're going to learn about the theory of the instrument. And you're going to do a different activity, a sports activity that is supposed to best mimic the strength, the precision, the fortitude of mind that you need to play the instrument. But you're not going to play the instrument. And then the minute you graduate, and after you've placed with your theory and your weird sport that is supposed to mimic but not actually be the instrument,
and also a sport that never ever will come into play ever again in your life.
You will never do that ever. Then you graduate and you immediately go into the system where using will. It's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. And again, the only reason they don't use will during the school is because the author wants him to not be using will, and also he can't send him to a school where he has to do it. And so
it didn't occur to me until now that they all, like, it didn't really hit me that they all use will, but like as children, for some reason, for me, I thought, like, in my mind, even though I know I remember alternatively, children didn't use will, or if they did anything having to do with will, they gave to their betters, or they seeded, which I know now, I get now, that was for like the orphans and stuff, and like for people who are scrambling for like survival in some degree, and you don't need to do that per se. But why wouldn't you need to do that for why wouldn't the higher up children need not to do that for the other the higher children? I don't, maybe they do, I don't know, but it's not explained, I don't think.
And we know that they know how to use will because there's a point where Emisa uses will. There's also a point where a different character, while in the school, thinks that our boy Vis has been using the will illegally because you're not supposed to do it. And that's how he's progressed so fast. So these kids all can do it, and they're just not allowed to do it. Again, they all play this instrument. They all have access to this instrument. But at the school, they're not allowed to play the instrument that the school is kind of sort of about, along with politics, history, and math.
I have a question.
Yes.
How does it literally work that somebody gives will to another and they choose who they give it to besides a sapper?
So there's the Aurora's column that you gives you the ability, but I have no idea. Besides that, nothing. It's never explained. We got nothing. How you get placed into a power pyramid.
You know what occurs to me specifically? This is what I'm getting at though, real quick, before I forget. If children are using will,
who is giving the
who legally should be giving them that, considering they have not earned a position to receive will. You know what
Within
I
the
mean?
hierarchy.
Which
Yep.
again, I know that like it's
Yep.
very much pointed out, even in part one, that like another character's like, yeah, it's not actually a meritocracy, dude. Like this is definitely super. And so, look, it fits in with what he's saying there, but it doesn't even make sense on a level where it's like it's a facade. You know what I mean? Like it doesn't even make sense in the idea of like yeah, this is how society works and everybody understands
It
it.
is so flawed because you're right. None of these kids have a position of power within the hierarchy. Like none of them are Septimuses or anything.
Yeah, that's why I'm
which means they
confused.
have people giving them power, but they know how to use will. Amisa, in the middle of the Indicium or whatever that thing is at the end, literally uses will. And so I also thought, is this like Harry Potter where you can't apparate on school grounds, even if you have the ability to do so, you can't do it? I thought like that was kind of it. Nope. They just, all the kids just go, we're not using will, everyone. Nobody is using will, otherwise you'll be expelled. Nobody is doing it ever. Anyway, we have to get
Yeah.
past this because we're still not there. Anyway, he does 2 months of training with Lannistia. He does the dumb Maze thing. She makes him fight, even though she's blind. She uses will to see, so she's fine. Being blind impacts her very little.
She processes the air super quick, which
Yeah.
is actually a cool concept, but
And then he's like, oh, I have to go through that Pneumakia thing, otherwise that Sedosha lady will tell everyone. So he creates a scheme, and I'm not going to go into it at all, but he ends up
Nope.
going with this girl named Iqua to the Pneumakia. Iqua is the daughter of a senator who was trying to get in. Like, he's politicking is happening. He ends up on this outing with Iqua to go to the Pneumakia that he uses as an excuse. He's with Iqua, and he's like, man, I have to kind of escape. Anyway, he meets with Sedosha. Sedosha introduces him to Melior, the leader of the Anguis, and Melior is actually Esteban, a character we've not heard about at all, but was a advisor to our boy Diago / Vis's father, the King of Su. So he's like, oh my god, Esteban, and he's like, my Prince Diago, we're so happy to see you. And he's like, we need you. You need to help us and do all this stuff. And he's like, no, I can't work with the Anguis. You guys kill innocent people. And he's like, Diago, none of the people are innocent. If they're part of the system, they are the system. And he's like, no, my father wouldn't have wanted that. Your father's dead, Diago.
Yeah, well, it's... Okay, wait. The telenovela in you just got to me. But so of course, so I'm sorry, that's just I can't. Okay. Number one, there was no good reasoning on Esteban's part for this. Like there was no good like reasoning to understand like that concept behind it. Like no story, no anecdotal evidence, nothing. And it in and of itself doesn't make sense because he's then therefore blaming literally every existing human being on this planet for being part of a system because literally there is no other option.
There is no other option.
It's like blaming somebody for being in jail. Like it's like what? And then this is also another scene I won't pause us too long. This is another scene where I thought we should have switched perspectives or third person omniscient or whatever. The point is though, is one of the fine. Let's just all decide third person. Okay, this is where we should have switched third person omniscient a little bit. And how cool would it have been? Wait, I'm gonna wait until you finish this scene and then I'll say this part. Go.
And so Sedosha, they're like, we need you to help us do this thing and go to the school. And he's like, I don't want to help you. And they're like, oh well, you're gonna go. Our goals kind of match up to all key scores. And he's like, no. And then Esteban is like, one day you will come when you have realized the cost. And also, he's kind of pissed off at them because they use will. Like Esteban uses will, Sedosha uses will, the other people in the Anguis use will, and he's like, how can you do it? That is the fund. And basically he's saying, you are part of the system. You are willing it up, my guy. That is also part of the, and Esteban's like,
that doesn't come quite till later, I think, but yes.
And he's like, and he's like, when you don't understand, we have to use their weapons against them, blah blah blah. And then he's like, no, I'm going back. The lady I came here with, Iqua, will notice I've been gone. So like they take him back, and also he had to go to meet with Esteban and Sedosha. He had to like go into the sewers, and these are sewers that are connected up to the Colosseum, which is currently filled with boats. And basically they're doing like a mock battle of a previous ocean battle, but they've filled it with water, and eventually all the water will run out of these tunnels. But anyway, he goes back. He watches the Numachia with Iqua, and then in the middle of it, people like there's a weird vibe in the air, and then Esteban comes out, and he literally uses the will in a way that nobody has ever used it before, where he just kills an entire section of the audience.
He explodes them.
He turns them into meat goo.
Viscera.
Yeah, viscera, just an entire section. Everybody starts freaking out. Our boy Vis, when he was leaving the meeting with Esteban and Sedosha used this thing and carved into him and was like, I need to get some of your blood. This will protect you. And so he's like, okay, whatever is happening, whatever force of will is being used, whatever weapon, I'm protected from it. He gets Iqua out. He goes back and he's like, I'm not going to let Esteban kill this whole amphitheater coliseum of people. I've got to confront him because he can't hurt me. So he goes to Esteban. And he's like, why are you doing this? And Esteban is like, my prince, you don't understand. And he has the thing at Esteban's throat. And Esteban's like, what must be done, be done. And then Esteban kills himself. He takes the stylus. It's literally a pointy stylus that Viz had at his throat. Because Viz did not have it in him to kill one of the last remnants of Zeus and his former life. And Esteban just shoots it up into his own brain.
And then he just like, boop.
And then he falls into the water. The stylus goes with him, and everybody's like, "Oh my god, this kid killed Melior,
the terrorist." Like, and then he blacks out as per usual in this book, and he wakes up a week later. But before we get into that, how much better? I don't know if you would agree with me, but this is just a thought. How much better would it have been if we'd had that other perspective, and we didn't know that Esteban was Melior? And it wouldn't matter too much to us unless I think there would have needed to be some introduction to like some of the important people in his life that he left behind. But maybe not.
Also, Esteban should have been brought up. We should have heard about this asshole at least once prior to this point.
That's what I mean.
Give me a flashback of your life in fucking Zeus. Give me anything, because this book keeps doing this thing where it's like, oh look, someone from my past, a character that is never mentioned or brought up previously.
So yeah, like pushing that problem to the side in and of itself, how I feel like it would have been a better shock to have had so you have the option of one of two like kind of like ways to roll out the scene. Either A, he doesn't know that Melior or whatever his name is Esteban, and he has the interaction with Sedocia and everything, and the whole thing's the same, and he has a stylus, and so he knows he can't be hurt because of this, and so he's like, well, I'm the only one who can't be hurt, therefore I'm gonna go out there, not because it's Esteban, but because I can help, which is still what he is intending to do in the first place, so that doesn't really change his motivations. And so he goes out there, and then of course you get one version of this where he's like, oh, it's Esteban. The only this person who I haven't seen, and then he like suddenly takes him. It would be kind of like a trauma for the reader in some ways, which would help reflect it. Or alternatively, you get that third person omniscient kind of edging towards Esteban more so, and then it's like he saw his prince walk along the thing, and you're like, wait, his prince? Who's this person? And then like, that kind of thing, and then he dies, and you're like, wait, and then you hear all the respect he has for his prince or something, which makes you like, if it's written well, you're like, oh, this is somebody who's supporting my main character. Oh, and this person's really powerful. You kind of like start implicitly like wanting to support that, and then he dies immediately, which is still traumatic for the reader.
Yeah. This scene unfortunately just doesn't work. Like the viscera of it is like so many people die at once. You're like, damn, that's pretty wild. But as Katie said, our boy blacks out. He comes to a week later, and he's like, yo, what happened? And basically, I'm just gonna summarize a lot of this. He now has been honored by the Senate. He's now
Catanicus.
Telemus Catanicus. They've given him an honorific basically for this, and everybody's like, oh my god, Catanicus, woo, war hero. And our boy Olkiskor is like, yeah, you did a lot of good for the the Telemus name, but like you're definitely not going to be going into the school, because originally they were like, just skate by, do well, climb the ranks, keep your head down, and they were like, that's not going to happen anymore. So he starts school, and he goes in immediately, and I'm just really going to go through the school stuff as quickly as possible.
Because it's too long.
He immediately like puts himself at odds with everyone else by getting himself into a fight. And the situation could have easily been resolved. But again, anytime this author has the opportunity to take the most shonen anime tropey option, he does. So there's a bigger kid who's gonna bully a smaller guy, and he like steps in, and then he ends up punching the bigger kid, and it turns into a whole thing. And immediately just puts him at odds with everyone at the school, and people are like, oh, fuck that guy, just because he saved a ton of fucking people. He thinks he can come in and start picking fights with kids who are ahead of him, because like this school has a hierarchy. You have class 7, class 6, class 5, 4, and 3. There is no class 2 or 1. It just goes to 3, and then you do a test and you graduate. Weird system. But anyway, and the guy he punched at the start was a kid in class 6, and you're not supposed to. It's like being in a military. You're not supposed to pick fights with people above you. Anyway, he ends up kind of getting out of class 7 pretty quickly. Class 6 is a bit of a trial. He makes friends with the kid who he kind of saved at the start of this. That kid, for some reason, despite being very smart, is not moving up in the levels, and he's not sure why. But he becomes friends. This guy's name is Calidus. He ends up in class 6, rooming really close to the kid he punched, whose name is Aiden. Aiden, like him, is not Katenin. He is from somewhere else, and thus some teachers are racist towards them because they're not from here. And this, in class 6, the teacher, they're called preceptors, is one of those guys. And even though Viz is smart enough to and skilled enough to get out of class 6, and again, all that is happening at school is classes, and then they ran the Labyrinth once just to kind of experience it, get them a bit of flavor, because you're supposed to work your way through the classes, and it's not like a normal school where like at the end of 6 months you take a test, and at that test you can kind of go up or down as needed. People go up or down at the whim of the preceptors, or just like at their pace by what they're doing. It is a really weird system. You could get through the whole thing in like 8 months.
Yeah, that's what I thought was also really strange. I was like, wait, couldn't technically, if you were good enough, speed run this school?
Yeah,
like,
no, and that's basically what our boy does. He speeds run the school, which is wild because like class, like as you go up, it's supposed to get so much harder. So the people that have been in those classes have a much stronger advantage. Anyway, don't worry about it. It's fine.
Also,
anyway.
Wait. As a side note, when Viz is in 7 and 6, he's like, wow, all these other people are so dumb and so slow and so bad at everything.
Yeah. He's so judgmental.
He was like, I was expecting so much more. And he was like, my powers are above yours. So yeah, that is what happens actually for the next like hour and a half of the book.
And he gets stuck in 6 because the guy is kind of racist. He ends up so one of the things Okiscore told him that he had to do was he had to go visit these ruins. And he's like, man, I'm not progressing. Okiscore is going to be really pissed at me when I go do like the temple of the family like thing where I'm gonna have to see him. So he's like, so I need to go visit one of those spots that he told me I had to do. So he sneaks out of his room at night and he goes to this like temple thing, and it's like these ruins, and he kind of goes in, and there's a bunch of weird green writing all over the walls in a language he doesn't speak, and there's also pictures, and then he also sees there are the blueprints for the labyrinth on the walls with the writing from the weird language he doesn't understand, and it's this glowing writing. And then he ends up going lower, and he has to lower himself down through a rope, and he gets into this room, and all around the room are these people on blocks with a piece of obsidian through their heart, and they're all just naked on these blocks with obsidian through their heart. And he's like, that's weird. In the middle of the room is a big bronze disc, and he's like, what is that? And there's things written on it, and he tries to rub it away, and as he rubs it away,
Aladdin,
the genie's lamp. The bronze lights up, and then there's like these holographs. One is of the school, one it's all three of them.
It's
are
the land that they're on.
It's the island of Salvages, but it's at different points in time, where like one is like Salvages now, one is Salvages maybe in the future, one is Salvages in the past. And he's like, that's weird. And then all of a sudden the people around him start whispering and saying this weird thing about
it. Was a creepy scene.
Yeah, this is the best scene in the book.
It is. It's actually really good.
It's so fucking good. It makes me angry that everything else wasn't this good, because there's this excellent creep factor. And there's this term that he spoke to Okiscore, and he learned about his brother. Actually, no, he doesn't learn it yet. But they're saying something about obsidian and lucium, and like the way is blocked. Do not go. Do not open the gate. Anyway, but it's this creepy
And
thing.
it's like, what is it called? It's synchronism is something.
Here, I'll look it
It's
up.
like something about don't synchronize or something like that. Like
there it is. No, that's not the one I wanted. Go to results, please. Mm-mm-mm.
While Marie is looking, by the way, St. John said, but these are a bunch of rich kids born into a system, so they should be ahead of him, if anything, into the system. So if anything, they should be ahead of him. Yeah, I know. It's so weird. Like, it's like, just because you're a prince doesn't mean you know everything about this system. In fact, you've actively made it an effort not to integrate into the society.
Oh.
So, yeah, go ahead.
So the guys on the walls are saying, Obitium is lost. Do not open the gate. Synchronous is death. Obitium is lost. And Obitium is one of the words that he heard that way back at the beginning in the prison when Ulquiskor was talking to that guy, he was like, he mentioned Obitium and Lucium. And then also Ulquiskor's brother, Serar, sent him a coded message about Obitium, Lucium, the gate, and synchronism. And so you're like, ooh, what is this mystery? And again, there's just 100 voices. There's 100 people on these walls stabbed through the heart with obsidian and chanting this thing. And he looks at them and they all have like nothing in their eye. It's empty, gross ass sockets.
Just like Lannistia.
Lannistia. What is this? And he's like, okay, and so our boy books it. This is weird as hell. He books it out of there. He also knows that because a lot of doors and stuff have alarms on them. He was like, oh my God, Viridius and someone might be coming. So he books it out of there. He's like hiding in the forest, like, whew, man, that was crazy. And then Viridius comes and is like, someone must have been here. The lights are on inside.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, that's literally it. He's like, the lights are still on.
And there was somebody else with him, like, oh my God, is everything still there? And he's like, yeah, nobody took anything. Phew.
No. Actually, one specific part, he says, none of them got out.
Yes, none of them are missing.
Yes.
And you're like, what the fuck is happening? And you're like, oh my God, something happened. When Serar died, they were trying to put, like, maybe Lannistia, stab her through the heart. Like,
what I was thinking at this point is I was like, wait a second. Maybe the Principalis is not a bad person. Maybe he's actually trying to stop a force from getting out. And during their time excavating or whatever, Lannistia unfortunately tapped into a power that was no good. And she almost got taken as like the sacrifice or whatever it is that they're doing.
Exactly. St. John makes a comment in the audiobook. This scene and some of the ones from the end are so cool. And they are. The audiobook narration of the obsidian is lost.
Yeah, it's well done.
Open the gate. Synchronous is death. Incredible, because he does different voice. It's so good. And then St. John says, I can imagine a version of this book that would have been amazing. And this scene, I was like,
this is where it turned for me for a minute. And I was like, oh, is this going to get really good?
Yeah. And even Chris M says, not going to lie, the mystery of the ruins was what kept me going. And that's the thing that I was most interested in the fact that it has so little to do, because like it's obviously the heart of whatever this series is going to be. Whatever is happening in these ruins, Obsidian, Lucium, that's what this shit is about. And again, excellent scene. Islington, I see you. Please work on your scope and tightness and your characters being Gary Stews. Anyway, so he manages to get through this whole thing. On his way back, he kind of cuts himself. He has to kind of fake a bunch of stuff. But him and Iden, the guy who he punched at the beginning, end up becoming kind of friends and friendly because they both kind of hate the hierarchy and they become chill. So he now has two friends. Everybody else hates him, but he's got Calidus, he's got Iden. And then he has the Festival of the Ancestors where he has to go visit his new papa at the like necropolis. And it's basically like a Dia de los Muertos, where it's a celebration of your family that has died. And he gets there.
And he meets.
Yes. He meets Lucia, Ulquiskor's wife, who is actually Sedosha.
Wait, Lucia? I thought it was Reliquia.
Oh, Reliquia. Yes, that's what it is. Her name's Reliquia, and she's actually Sadosha, the person who did the whole thing.
That was a shocker.
Waste.
That was a twist for me. I was not expecting that.
Again, I thought the book was gonna get good. Like I thought after the temple scene, and then this shit happened. Because again, all I wanted was him to go back to Alkiscore and Lannistia and tell them what he saw, so we could get like, hot damn, this is the tea was hot, guys. And then Alkiscore's wife is the head of the Anguis now that Melior is dead, and because he's also like, wow, Sadosha's gonna want to kill me. Only to learn that it was a whole plot. They specifically, Reliquia was like, actually, we wanted you to kill Melior. It was good for our brand and our image. Actually succeeding in killing all of those people wouldn't have done what we needed to do, but it made you look good and got you in the position. So you have to do stuff for us. Otherwise, we'll fuck you over. Also, only me and one other person knows that we wanted you to kill Melior. Everyone in Anguis still hates you. Anyway, he has
wild.
Yes.
What a wild, like, I like how nobody gives a flying F about him, like, at all. Like, I mean, I wouldn't either, but it's kind of irritating sometimes.
Yes. He ends up having the conversation with Alkiscore and Lannistia, and Lannistia is like, I don't have eyes. And this is like, yeah, bruh, I know. And they're like, wow, whatever is in there must be the thing. But also, Alkiscore's like weirdly pissed at him for not having to gone up any higher. And he was like, okay, well, I need your help. The teacher will not upgrade me, even though I should be. Alkiscore's kind of like, you have to figure it out on your own. And also, I don't know how I'm actually supposed to help you with that. And there's much less. I really wanted out of the scene for them to be like, oh my God, what is that? What is this? Is the second time, because this is also where we learn more about how Alkiscore gave his brother a writing stylus, that whatever he wrote down on a piece of paper, a separate stylus would write on a piece of paper that Alkiscore had, and he had a coded message right before he died. And everybody thinks it was suicide. That's the official story. His brother Seror was going into the Indicium, or whatever that term is. It's basically the big test that happens at the end of your time as a class 3, and afterwards you get ranked at your class ranking, and you graduate and you get to go out into the world. And his brother died during that event, despite prepping for it, being a great student, all of this stuff. Lannistia got super injured and was like, again, and not just her eyes, like so injured they were certain she was going to die. She was in a coma for a while, but he wrote a note to his brother where he mentioned Obasium, Lucaeum, and the gate. So Alkiscore's like, something is happening. A plot is afoot. And so hearing that, but unfortunately, because Vis thinks he was going crazy, and that the corpses, like the corpsicles who spoke to him, that telling people that they spoke is too much. He doesn't tell Alkiscore that they,
which I think is absurd. It's because
absurd. Why would you not tell them what they said?
Well, he already knows that there's some dark magic or deep technology that's from pre-cataclysm times. Why wouldn't there be a power? And also, we're in a will-powered world. Who's to say that these corpses aren't just will-powered for whatever main thing? Like, I thought maybe also, it occurred to me, I was like, oh, maybe they're like a computer, and like they're all the like little minds that are being used to generate, because they all had the obsidian in them. So anyway, like, I don't see why that would be disbelieved. I felt like there was a very weak reason to have him not mention it.
And it's also super weak because, like, that's the heart of it's him repeating the thing that Seror wrote to his brother. Why would you not have mentioned that? Anyway, he doesn't tell them. So me going into the scene being like, oh, I can't wait to see what theories they make. Nothing. It is a kind of pointless scene. The conversation with Reliquia goes better, because he's like, yo, the preceptor Doltatus won't let me graduate to class 5, and she's like, I'll see what I can do. Maybe I'll help you or not, but also you need to become Domitor, and that's all we need you to do. Just become Domitor and get a position in a high pace in the thing, and that's it. That's all we need you to do, because eventually when we take everything down, we're going to need someone on the inside in a position of power to help us. And he was like, okay.
So again, all the more reason for Sadosha not to be a jerkwad to him. So why she's not trying to be mayhaps more amiable is escaping me. And why she also wouldn't want her gang, her terrorist organization, to know that he's actually on their side for that purpose. Like, that doesn't make much sense to me.
I got nothing. Anyway, he ends up going back to he's gonna go back to school, but he told, because again, Alkeyscore's pissed that he hasn't gone up more, and he's like, okay, Alkeyscore, I have an idea of how to get to those other ruins on the opposite side of the island, but I need your help. And Alkeyscore's like, yes, if you do this, this will satisfy me, and I will feel better about the situation. So basically, they create a really weird plan where he's gonna go to the other ruins on the other side of the island by attaching himself with a magical rock to the underside of a transvect, dropping
that acts as a magnet and helps him stay aloft.
And he ends up getting to the other side of the island, swimming. He gets through, and he finds this big dome thing. And he goes inside. He has to like say a password to go in. He goes inside the dome. He kind of goes around. It has a big elevator thing that drops him down to the lowest point. And when he gets there, there's a whole there's a guy pops up and is like, "Hey, I did a bad thing, so now my
automated he has like an automated response. He can't actually interact with Viz, and lo and behold, what is before him but an incarnation of the Labyrinth,
and a much nicer, even nicer than the version of the Labyrinth that the school has, which was nicer than the version of the Labyrinth Lenistia and Alkeyscore had. And the guy is like, would you like to see how to run through? I can give you a demonstration of how to run through the Labyrinth. And he was like,
not to run through the Labyrinth, but why you can't just go to the door, because he's like, well, hey, when you don't put on the bracer, it's all flat, it's a straight way, why can't I just go there? And he's like, I shall demonstrate. And he walks, and then these three dark shadows appear, and it's almost like it kind of sounded like the description of Esteban and his power and stuff like that, the way it just shredded into him, and all that was left was like a red splotch on the ground, and he was like, oh my god. And then another corpse basically appears, and it's like, hello, I am here for an automated message to. And so anyway, he's like, well,
the other thing that you learned is those things, those black objects, those are the things within this version of the Labyrinth that attack you. So he suddenly realizes, oh, what we're doing up there when we have the kids chasing after us while we're trying to get through the Labyrinth is like a much less terrifying version of this. We're like, here, there are actual monsters that will kill you. We're up there because, like, again, the start of this book makes you think the school is going to be way more badass than it is, because like Lenistia really
Maria's just throwing around this cat toy, itching her head with it and shit. Like,
sorry, guys. But it makes you think it's really intense. But like when they run the Labyrinth, nobody punches. It's not like you're getting attacked. If the kids corner you and you can't get away, then you're just done. You lose. But down here, there are actual like monsters, and he's like, wow, they must have discovered this. And whatever's on the other side of this, that's what they're training us for. They're training to find people who are good enough to run this real scary labyrinth down here. But he's like, I don't want this smoke. So he goes back up. He's like, wow, that was scary, terrifying. What a weird world. And then he ends up like kind of getting trapped in the wilderness. He saves an alupi, which are dire wolves.
A little puppy dire wolf.
A little puppy dire wolf from a terrible fate. And then he ends up getting back to the Transvect on time, going back to school. He continues going to school. Oh no, a kid from class 5 died. So now there's a spot in class 5 and he has to compete. And he's like, he has to do, this is another one of the terrible things in this thing where like, he has to duel someone to get the next spot. But the thing is, you would think dueling or sword fighting and stuff would be something that they would learn about, because they literally have these complicated armor sets so that the kids themselves don't get hurt, but they can kind of duel with real swords. It never gets mentioned again. You think, oh, this will be when he gets into higher classes. He's going to have to use this more often. Nope, never. He does this scene. They have this whole complicated scene with this complicated ass armor. It's not just a normal thing. And he should.
And it was an interesting idea too. Yeah. It was fine enough. And that would make also a lot of sense with Birthright, because you're not supposed to kill anybody. So it would make, so I also started wondering to myself, I was like, oh, wait a second. Does the military use these like little Iron Man suits and like goes out and like, that's why you need so much willpower, is to power all these things? And like I was like, oh, that would make so much sense with them trying to preserve the many. And then
no. And it's just this weird thing, because like this whole scene, which takes a lot of time, and again, he shouldn't have won this. He was literally going up. Oh, Katie,
I already adjusted it.
This guy is like the top competitor in the like nation for like, and again, the nation is the entire world. He's like the best duelist there is, and somehow our guy. And the problem is, Vis is trained in the sword, but him and Lannistia didn't do sword fighting because apparently that's not something you actually need. That's not how she trained him to fight. Hers was more like sparring, bare knuckling, no weapons kind of thing. And so now he has to rely on his sword fighting training from Seuss from 5 years ago.
And of course, he had the best of the best tutors, and he was brought up every single day of his life learning all these things. So even though he's a little rusty, he's still better than the best person in perhaps all of the land.
Yeah. And so he beats this guy, which again should not have happened. A bizarre way to have this happen. But anyway, he beats him. He goes into class 5. He goes from class 5 to class 4 pretty quickly. He ends up getting invited. So this thing happens where he goes, there's a festival that happens, and he goes with some of the people from class 4. And Iqua, who's the girl who was at the Numakia with him that he saved, has been kind of suspicious of him this whole time, and he ends up getting like attacked by people at one point, and he's like getting his shit rocked because it's these two guys who are using will. And again, now in this scene, out of nowhere, are like people can rock Vis's shit, even though at no other point have we seen him even remotely get his shit rocked. But he's getting his shit rocked, and then the teacher steps in, one of his teachers, and is like, no, we're done here. Turns out the teacher and Iqua put this together to test to see if he was actually using will, and that's how he got through everything so quickly. And Iqua's like, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry that I didn't trust you and I suspected you. Also, the other thing that happens is he meets Reliquia again, and she's like checking in on his progress, and he's like, don't kill people to help me. And she's like, I'll do whatever the fuck I want to get you where I need to get you. And so then he's like, wow, Reliquia really holds all the cards. I don't want to get stuck in a position where I have to do what she wants. Let me try get dirt on her. So he follows her to this house, and then she
like
goes
that.
Yeah. He follows her to this house, and then she's talking to someone who's inside, and then all of a sudden he's coming. It was such a weird scene.
It was so confusing.
It's so there was multiple times where the way the author wrote something was confusing, and I had to reread it a couple of times. But basically, she's talking to someone inside the house. Then all of a sudden, he's outside of the house walking into the house, and you're like, what the fuck just happened? But she's listening to them, and they're talking about, yes, they're going to give us ships, and we're going to have to do this. And he's like, I wonder what they're doing and what their plan with the Anguis is, but it's something about ships and someone providing it to them. But we're not really sure. And then Reliquia is like, I need you. There's going to be a trip that everyone's going to go on. Because he got invited. Some of the class 3s were like, come to my dad's island. It's really cool for this one break, and you can hang out with us and the class 3. And everybody's like, wow, that's so awesome. This class 3 wants you to go on this vacation with them, but the island is actually Seuss, his former island. And he's like, I can't go there, Reliquia. And Reliquia is like, actually, I'm the one who made this happen and put the ideas in motion. I want you to go there because there's going to be a big military meeting, and I need you to eavesdrop on this super secret, top secret military meeting. And he's like, oh my God, that's insane. I don't want to do it, but he has to. So he goes back. He heard that conversation with Reliquia and that weird guy, but he doesn't have any context for it, and it was also useless. He got his shit rocked by some guys. Everybody knows now he's not using will. And also, Iqua loses her standing because she suspected him of using will and stuck her put her standing up as a way of showing the teacher that she was super serious. So now all of a sudden she's at the bottom of the class. He's at the top of the class. And he's like, I want to go into 3. And then his friend, so then he goes away to the island with everyone. And he's at Seuss, and he's like, my land has been despoiled. It's all Katenin. They've ruined the architecture. They've ruined the buildings. They've ruined the food. And one of the guys that works for the Katenin family, it's this guy named Indol. I don't know. But anyway, the kid whose dad runs this island now. One of the people who works for that guy is actually one of his father's old advisors and one of his old tutors, Frederique. And he's like, so our
these
boy's
names,
like,
the tutor names
Esteban,
are so
Frederique, Tiago. Like, I'm like, is this like alternate universe Spain? What is this?
Maybe.
But anyway, so he's like, okay, I'm going to have to sneak through the secret passageways that were built into the castle that I know about, because I was the Prince of Seuss, but nobody here really is paying attention to, so I can listen in on that secret conversation. A couple of other things happen. There's this girl, Amisa, who's in class 3 that he's been flirting with the whole time. Her and him get, like, close together and get, like, snuggledy-buggledy. he's like kind of bonding with class 3, but he goes to that, he like spies on that meeting, and while he's there he realizes, oh my god, military was working with Anguis, because what's been happening, the power dynamic that's been happening at the top of the hierarchy, is now that they've conquered everything, now that they've literally conquered everything, there's no more war. And that means the military that used to be the most powerful of this little triumvirate is like the weakest, because you're fighting no one. You're now like a glorified police force instead of being an actual military. And so they're losing their power. Governance and religion are like, no, baby, you don't need those resources. We need them. And military is like, not today, Satan. So they're helping Anguis to make Anguis look like a threat so that they're still important. So they actually helped Anguis do the whole Colosseum Pneumachia thing. They were in on that. And now he can tell based on the super secret conversation that they are giving the Anguis some ships and some other resources to do something. And that he connects with Sadosha talking to that guy in that room at that festival thing earlier, and because she was talking about ships, and he was like, oh no, something must be about to happen. And he gives Sadosha the information through a magic stylus. Him and Amisa start dating. Also, after he gets all this information, he meets up with Frederica, who is like, oh, my prince, it was you. I love you. Look at this room where I've kept all of the vestiges of our land. And at first he's like, you sold out to the hierarchy. And he's like, of course I did, my prince. How else was I going to take care of our people? These guys don't take care of him. And he's like, oh, Frederica, you're doing the same thing I am. We're just two people caught in the cogs of this great machine. We love each other. And he was like, yes, that's why I took you to that restaurant that was very rude to everyone, because I wanted our people to know that you're still there, Diago. And it's a very... Our boy like collapses sobbing, and it just should be a really emotional scene, but it's not, because who the fuck is Frederica? Like, we don't, again, he was never mentioned. It's not like we've had flashbacks about this guy or anything. But anyway, so they leave Seuss, they go back, and Calidus, his best friend, basically confesses to him, hey, so actually the reason I've been stuck in 7th the whole time, even though I'm way smarter and I should be in a higher class, and I was originally in class 3, was because I trusted Belly too much. Or Belly is one of the girls in class 3. Originally, prior to starting school, they had done some training together with a couple of other kids, and they'd all gotten close, and Calidus developed a crush on Belly. And his father is the head of the censor, so he does the census. And one of the things they've learned, and that his father told him about, was that a bunch of kids in the academy are dying. Not just dying during the Indicium and at the higher levels, but also the kids who graduate really well end up dying. Some of them are dying elsewhere. And they only have this information because of the census, because basically they have... what are those things where you have to sign it? Non-disclosure agreement. They have non-disclosure agreements in the school where once you start, you can't talk about anything that happens in there. So anyone who died, they bribe their families to stay quiet. And so despite like 8 kids having died in the past like 3 years, 8 kids at school and then a bunch outside, nobody knows about this. It's a big hidden secret. But he had the information, and he had the census documents. And our boy Calidus was like, I liked Belly, so I showed her the documents to make her realize that it's dangerous to be in the upper classes. Then she stole the documents, and she's been blackmailing me, because if anybody found out that my father showed that I took those documents from my father, because like the census documents are apparently the most highly classified.
It's because one of the big things, and this is what I was about to mention, one of the big things it reveals is that which it's never really explained to you, so it doesn't have that big of a shock value, honestly, when it comes forth. And also, you're kind of expecting it anyway, because we were just talking about this earlier. But for every so many octavi or so on, there needs to be a septimi. And for however many septimi, there are whatever the next one, a sexty or so, whatever, and so on. And so it's supposed to be mathematically, percentage-wise, to a certain degree.
Like there's supposed to be everything similar in a lot of spots.
But, of course, the census reveals that there is a whole lot more octavi than there should be, and that there's a whole lot less of the higher ranking will users than there should be. So then, of course, that reveals power dynamic display of it being
inherently unfair system.
Yeah, exactly.
Which nobody can know, because then that shows the flaws in the system. But also the census documents also showing this death that the school has been actively hiding. And so if anyone found out that he stole his father's documents, his father would get censured, his family would get fucked, he would get fucked. So Belly, knowing this, blackmails him and is like, I need you to drop from class 3 to class 7 right the fuck now. So you're not competition. And she uses the documents to blackmail him. And that's why our boy Calidus, smartest boy in school, has been stuck in class 7. And then our boy Vis, the goodest boy in school, bestest guy, was like, maybe I can use this. Maybe I can get into class 3 and help my boy Calidus all at the same time. And so he goes to his girlfriend, Amisa, who's in class 3, and is like, yo, I need you to help me to get into class 3. And she's like, okay, let's take down the lowest kid in class. And he was like, no, I don't want to take that guy. I want to take out Belly. And she was like, and she's been friends with Belly, and she is friends with Belly. And she was like, absolutely, babe. This is a competition. We always told each other that, even though this is a competition, and I'm now bringing you into, like, apparently boyfriends you can work with, sabotage other people. Friends, fuck them. We don't care. Friendship, fuck it. She's immediately, she's like, absolutely, I'll help you take down Belly. And basically, Belly's a really good foundation player, which is basically the chess of this world. And so he's gonna con Belly by pretending he's not a good foundation player, then getting her to agree to a game where she stakes her position in class 3 against him, against the game, and then he'll like shark her and get her to put her in a position where she knows she's gonna lose. And then he's like, you know, we can change the terms. If you give Calidus those forms back, and all of them, and he confirms them, I'll let you win. We're in a position now where nobody else has realized you're screwed. Only we know you're screwed. So I can just fuck up and you can win and we're all good. I just want to help my bro. And she's like, absolutely, I'll go do it. So they pretend they have to use the bathroom. She goes off. Calidus is like, I got my docs guy, thanks. And then he's like, never mind, I lied. I am going to make you lose. And so I got you can't blackmail my boy, and I'm taking your spot. And she's like, what are you doing? And he's like, showing you that actions have consequences. And I'm like, yo, buddy, you are so self-righteous for being a fucking lying prick.
To be frank, I agree with St. Jen, which is that I like that Belly eats shit in the end.
Yeah.
Because that's such a dirty thing to do in the first place.
Listen, I am absolutely okay with Belly having to eat shit. I just hate that it's fucking Viz. I find him such a condescending asshole who, while not cheating by using will, has been cheating and has gotten benefit. Like, Sadosha literally
it's all just my natural charisma.
Yeah. So, like, he literally got from class 6 to class 5 with external help. So, like, Belly blackmailed someone. A lady killed a kid so you could get to class 5. Are we really throwing stones here? But anyway, Belly does suck. And I like Calidus, who's kind of innocent in all of this. So I am glad that he's no longer getting blackmailed by a bitch. But anyway, so he gets to class 3. Class 3 is finally hard. This whole time it's been kind of Easiesville, but class 3 is finally hard. But again, they're not actually doing any sparring or like battling stuff regularly. It's mainly just classes. And then the teacher, because like the guy who's the teacher of the top class 3 is also kind of racist against people who aren't from Catan. So he's like, we're gonna lock in the positions for the Indicium now, which puts Viz at the bottom. Instead of him being able to work his way up and kind of get better. But he has been training a lot. So once that happens, they're like, okay, the Indicium is going to happen. It's the big test. And afterwards, we're basically graduated. And whatever it is, he gets to choose 2 people from the rest of the class, like from the school, to be on his team with him. So they're going to be kind of competing in groups of 3. And most people are taking from class 4 because they're like some of the smartest, but not him. He's like, my friend Aiden, class 6, and my friend Calidus, class 7. And everybody's like, the fuck? And the head of the school, Verdius, is like, actually, smart choice. Picking people you absolutely trust is going to be really useful for this. But Aiden then is like, no, buddy, I know I said I would do it for you, but I can't. Can't tell you why. Also, we learn, I don't know, I'm not even going to get into it. But so he ends up having to do Calidus, and then he goes to Equa, the girl from class 4 who thought he was cheating and got that whole thing happen. And Equa's reputation has kind of sucked ever since that whole thing happened. And people were like, what happened with you and this? And everybody knows that shit went down. And so her standing just tanked. And he's like, Equa, you're a bad bitch. You're really good at the Labyrinth. I need you on my team. And she's like, okay, I'll do it. I betrayed you. I'm here for it. And we'll do this together. and they train Iden, Calidus, and
Because now friendship
Iqua.
matters.
Yeah, now friendship matters, are all going to train together. We don't see them training together. We don't see him actually becoming friends with Iqua. We don't see the rest of the group becoming friends with Iqua. We get a time skip. The other thing I have to mention is when he met with Keyscore the last time and he told him about what he saw in that dome and the labyrinth at the end, he was like, so yeah, we should be good and everything. And then he's like, no. You still, because he was like, I've done everything you asked. And he's like, you've done nothing. Keyscore, who's been pretty reasonable the whole time, suddenly turns into a bitch. And he's like, you've done nothing that I've asked. You need to run that scary labyrinth with those death monsters that are going to try to kill you. See what's on the other side. That's what even Lannistia is
all
like.
He asked was for evidence of something, and all he has to do is take something. He could take one of the obsidian things or whatever out of the bodies.
In class 3. That's it. And he's like, no. You need to run that, and he's like, that sounds like it's gonna kill me. That's super. And even Lannistia is like, yeah, he's kind of done everything. He's like, I don't care. You need to run the labyrinth in that thing with the death monsters. And he's like, oh fuck. So now during the Indicium, not only does our guy have to compete in whatever thing is gonna happen, he also has to find time to run off, do the labyrinth,
and not continue.
And not die. So the Indicium happens. They all go, and basically there's this really, really complicated system of stones and ways everyone can track each other. And basically there is this little piece, there's a statue, and a piece of the statue has been removed, and it's basically a fetch quest. The piece of the statue, it's called the heart of something. I'm just going to call it the heart, has been hidden somewhere on the island. They have to find it, bring it back, and place it back in. And whoever puts it there is the person who wins. And they discover that your fourths, your teammates, they can win. And if they do it, they can steal your... And so it kind of sucks because now instead of you all being a team working towards one goal, they can also win for themselves. And they've each been told separately what they'll get if they're the one to put the stone back. So you're trusting your teammates not to betray you to get what they want. And like I said, there's this whole dumb stone thing and everything. But as they start going and looking for it, they're also told that if at any point you kind of get injured, an Alope attacks, anything happens, there are safety teams scattered throughout the island that are tracking individual groups. So if you ever do need help, they will come. They're 15 minutes behind you. They're always about 15 minutes behind you, and they will come. But if at any point you do need help from them, you're disqualified from the game. So they're there to make sure nobody dies. And they're tracking you. As far as within the game works, they each have these stones on them, and they can track each other's stones, but only like the person at the top of the class, his team can track everybody else. The fifth placed person can track everyone below him, but not the guy above him. And our boy Viz, he's at the bottom, so he can track no one, and everyone can track him. And the only thing he can track is the heart of the island. And so they start doing it. Immediately, they get attacked by another group, Belly and this other kid named Iroh, who hates Vis for a reason I'm not getting into. But Belly's like, hey, revenge. And they basically attack them by tracking them and immediately don't break Vis's stone that disqualifies them. And Iqua's like, I will go to your team because I want what I get if we win. Fuck Vis. I shall work with you. And the two Calidus and Vis kind of get left behind as the rest of the group, and Iqua, who has betrayed them, fuck off. And Calidus is like, Iqua has a plan. She's going to come back for us. And Vis is like, no, she's a bitch. She's betrayed me before. I shouldn't have trusted her.
These bitches.
Iqua comes back and is like, tee-hee-hee, let's go. And so they make a plan. And during the plan, and I'm not going to get into it, but during the plan, Iqua and Calidus have to go off and do different things. And our boy Vis, has to get a tracking stone from the safety people, because the safety teams have tracking stones that can track everyone. And he's like, that's how we get the upper hand, is we get one of their stones. He ends up getting the stone, and he's like, now I can use this opportunity, because nobody's here with me, to go run the labyrinth in that dome place. So he sneaks off.
That is a very ballsy decision.
Yeah, it is. It is a super ballsy decision. So he goes off and he like sneakily, because he runs the labyrinth, and as he's going to it, he sees the Alope that he saved before, who's like, when I tell you, do X Alope, this Alope solves a lot of problems for the plot.
I knew it would too. As soon as you get a hurt dog that your main character rescues, you're like, oh, okay, so this is our companion.
Yeah, exactly. And the Alope is like, don't go inside there, like, because he's trying to go in, and the Alope is kind of like and he named the Alope Diago, which is his name when he was a Prince of Zeus. And it's so what a cocky asshole.
Let me. It's like me naming Bucky Katie. It's like, hey, Katie, come here.
Like name Sasha Katie because he also has anxiety, you know?
Yeah.
Because he names it that because he was like, man, you're just stuck in a world you can't control. Like me when I was younger. I'll name you Diago. But anyway, Diago's like, don't go in this building, bad things. And he's like, I gotta do what I gotta do, Diago. Now Diago's not like the Alope is not like best friends. Like the Alope bites him at one point and is like, don't get fucking close to me. And he goes in and he goes through the labyrinth and he decides to get smart where he has a bunch of the AI like interface, the NPCs. So there's the NPCs of the labyrinth that are like, I am here. Would you like me to demonstrate? And he's like, yes. And so he has them demonstrate running through the labyrinth a couple of times so he can watch with the remnants, those big scary guys that are going to try attack you, to watch how the remnants work. And he has like 4 different of the NPCs run through the labyrinth and to build up. So he learns the movements of the remnants. He learns their starting point, how they go, the basic tracks. And he's like, okay, I can use this information to run the labyrinth. So using some tact, some strategy. And then he goes to run it and he's doing it. He's going good. As he's going through, all of a sudden he sees Belly on the wall. Like not blood puddled like the remnant like the NPCs from earlier. She's literally like strung up, her body like just pieces of her on the wall. And he's like, oh man, Viridius must have sent her to run. Viridius is the guy who runs the school. Must have sent her to run the labyrinth because she was the best by far of everyone in the school. Belly was the best at running the labyrinth. And you then discover there's 2 things happening at this school. On one hand, people are trying to graduate and do the Indicium, but also every year during the Indicium, Viridius is picking whoever runs the fake labyrinth best so he can send them during the Indicium to run the actual labyrinth. And Belly's dead, and it completely throws our boy off. The monsters nearly get him, but he manages to get through to the other side. And when he gets through, there's like this big like bronze thing that has a bunch of swords on it, and he kind of stands in the middle of it, and then he gets like electrocutified by like this thing, and when he wakes up there's a bunch of people with swords standing around him who are like, finish the task, warrior. And he's like, what? And then his skin hurts and he looks, and in his arm it has been written, wait. And he's like, what the fuck? And the people are like yelling at him, like are saying to finish the thing, warrior. And then all of a sudden they go to like attack him. And as they're about to, they start moving, his arm, it's more writing appears. It's an R, it's a U. And he starts running.
Run!
Yeah, and he runs. And he gets out and he goes through and he gets slashed. Like he gets hit by one of the obsidian blades at one point on his arm. And he like, he's trying to get back up to the top and he's not doing well. And he kind of calls, so the door opens. And then Diago, the Alope, comes in and starts eating all of these. And again, you're not sure who are these people who, again, feel like NPCs in a system, who are trying to attack him with their weird obsidian swords. We don't know. We have nothing. And Diago, the Alope, immediately starts fucking up these other guys and helping him. And then he gets out of the structure, the dome. But these guys also come out and start attacking him. So him and Diago are like dog and man v weird army of people fighting. And they end up killing them. Him and Diago are like, he's like, oh man, this poor Alope had died. And like they both kind of pass out. But then Diago's alive and the 2 fuck off. So he's like, okay, I don't know what really just happened. I do have words written into my arm that I have to cover, and my shoulder really hurts. Like my arm is injured. But besides that, he actually feels kind of good. Like he's feeling weirdly good for what just happened. You know, we're not really sure what just happened. Anyway, and so he goes off and he's like looking for stuff. He ends up finding Equa at the meetings point, but Calidus isn't there. And they're like, what is happening? And so they're tracking different groups because, again, they're still trying to win the Indicium. And they end up using the tracking stone that they have. Or actually, no, they do meet up with Calidus because our boy Vis can't read the tracking stone he took from those safety guards. but Calidus can, and they figure out how to use it and how to read it. And so they track a different group of people to try get their stuff and do whatever they're doing. But oh my God, when they get there, they're all in a mass grave in the dirt, dead, heads smashed in. And not only is there a student in this pile, but it's all the safety teams that were they were like Septimuses, but they worked for the school. Like they were here to protect the kids. They're all dead. And they're like, oh my God, somebody is here killing the safety teams and the competitors at the school. And our boy is like, oh shit, it's probably the Anguis. I remember military is using this opportunity to fuck over religion. Because again, religion runs the school. If they kill all of the graduating class or a ton of people, then the entire empire will be up at arms, take the school away from religion, give it to military to run safely. And that's why the Anguis are attacking. So they're like, oh shit, the Idicium doesn't actually even matter right now. We need to let the others know that they're being attacked. So they find a different group of the kids and they're like, hey, I know you think we're here and the whole finding the heart of the island thing, but none of that matters. Look, here's a hand of a dead person, the Anguis, and Indal immediately.
What a wild thing
to like bring a bloody cloak to the to this kid, and it has like a hand in it, and he was like, and this the one of your other students, like one of your friends, was also killed. And Indal immediately is like, oh fuck, thanks for telling me this, like awesome. Guys, everyone, disband, go to safety, get back to school. And Iqua goes to tell someone else. It goes to tell Emisa, and I remember Emisa is Vis's girlfriend, and so after he talks to Indal, he also goes with Emisa to he also goes with Iqua to try talk to Emisa, only to discover that Emisa's team split up. Emisa is actually in the building where the heart of the island has been hit. It's not called the heart of the island. Anyone who's listening to this is going to be like, why does she keep saying heart of the island? It's a reference to
you're talking
Light
about
Lark?
like cricket. Oh, okay.
It's a reference to Light Lark in the heart of the island, and that's just what I got. They called it the heart of something, and I don't know what it was, so I'm saying the heart of the island. But anyway, because they're on an island, it works. And basically, Emisa is already in the building where the heart of the island is being kept, and like her and her team. And so the one guy they found, and like he explains everything, and he's like, man, Emisa's already like in the heart of it. And they're like, oh shit, she's definitely going to get killed. So our boy Vis, he sprints off to save his girlfriend. Oh, someone said I thought it was Moana. That too.
I was going to say, I thought it was Moana because every time you said a heart of the island, I was just like, General's beat to song because I don't know any of the lyrics. Oh wait, what is it? Everywhere I go, every step I take. Oh my god, the kids were so obsessed with that when that freaking movie at the tutoring center. I mean,
yeah,
like when it came out. I hate that movie so much because that and like Frozen when we were in Japan and all the Japanese, everybody was just like, Elsa, Anna. And I'm just like, stop.
They played the Frozen soundtrack in Don Quixote.
I know.
Like, it was crazy. It's so loud too. Anyway, God, apparently there's a lot of hearts of the islands. So somebody also said from Lobis 64 also said it from Lost. So
yeah.
Whatever, heart of the island. And so he's like, I gotta rescue Misa. So he goes in and he's like trying to get through. And then the guy who was talking to Reliquia during that whole, like the guy who was like inside the house then outside the house is like, oh, hi, buddy. I see you and I have something in common. And then he's like, what are you doing here? Why are you doing this? And he was like, military has asked us to do this so they can take over, but they're fools. They'll never get the gate. Viridius will destroy it before he lets anyone else take it. And the guy is basically, the vibe you get is that whatever weird thing is up with this guy, him and Vis are now bonded because of that whole weird thing that happened at the end of the Labyrinth. And Vis isn't picking up what this guy's really putting down. And he's basically like, I'll let you go, but your girl's up there, so you're definitely going to want to like go deal with that. So Vis goes and he's trying to save Emisa, and he ends up like getting his shit rocked again by a guy who's using will and has a lot of power. But then he's saved by Emisa, who stabs the guy, and her eyes are black. So she used will to try save Vis. And she's like, oh my God, what is happening? And he explains like, oh, this whole thing has happened. And she's like, your wound on your back is crazy. Let me look at it for you. And he's like, oh, no. Our girl, Iqua just did it. And she's like, let me take a look. And she looks at it and she's like, oh shit. And he was like, what is it? And she was like, nothing. Give me the heart of the island. I need to win the Indicium. And she threatens him with a knife. And he was like, you don't need to threaten me. Here it is. Take it. And then she stabs him in the belly and throws him out the window. She's sobbing while she does this, crying, throws him out the window. He lands in the river. And as he does, he reaches his hand out to grab anything. And the heart of the island magically flies back into his hand. And then he falls into the water. And he ends up like, eventually he gets out of the water. He wakes up and he's on the banks and he's been dragged out by Diago, Duex Wolf. And he like, Diago dragged him out of the water and is like, peace, buddy, and kind of goes up ahead of him. Like Diago's like scouting ahead and he's like, okay, I need to get back. I need to figure things out. And he ends up finding Calidus. Except Calidus is gravely wounded because one of the Anguis guys found him and was attacking him. And so our boy is like, okay, come on, Calidus, we got to get out of here. Calidus is, again, he's been separated this whole time. He doesn't know the Anguis have been attacking, completely blindsided about the whole thing. So he's dragging Calidus back with them. And then Calidus dies. Like, he can't sustain his injury, dies. So he literally carries Calidus back one-armed because his other arm is completely useless now. Oh, also the guy who confronted him before he went and did the whole thing with Misa was also like, oh, buddy, don't get too attached to that arm. We all have to sacrifice something when we go through it. And this guy has a huge scar going down his face.
Okay, look, the scar going down his face is not losing anything. Did he lose his eyes? Did he lose his nose? Did he lose his mouth? No, but Vis has to lose his whole arm. Of course, it's because like only badasses are one-armed.
Yeah, he loses like his whole ass arm. Anyway, and so he ends up coming to the main square of the academy, and like Viridius is like, guys, this whole thing has happened. Everyone, Misa's there. A couple of other of the kids survived because Eek was there. And so our boy comes. He places Calidus down at the feet of the statue. He smacks the heart of the island in. And he looks at Viridius and he was like, fuck you, buddy. Because he knows something weird is happening. And then he passes out. Once again, passes out. He comes to and Viridius is like, listen, bro, you don't understand what's happening. I'm trying to keep the next cataclysm from happening. I don't know why you ran the labyrinth. And he was like, yeah, I did. And he was like, did you see anyone else? And he's like, yeah, Belly's dead, bitch. And he's like, listen, I don't have a lot of time to explain right now, but I'm trying to stop the next cataclysm. I need you. You won your Domador. I need you to pick a position in religion with this specific guy. And then I can kind of like continue talking to you. And then a bunch of senators come in and they're like, it's been 5 days. We need you for political reasons to pick what you're going to do. And he knows he'll key score probably because he's Telemus would want him to go military. Viridius wants him to go religion. And I don't understand, like, so he decides he's going to go to the censor. He wants to work with Calidus's father because he's decided now. He's decided whatever has happened to him, he is going to fight and he's going to have to use will. He's going to have to get a high position in the census because if he can work with the census, he'll be able to figure shit out and figure everything.
That's a that's a big jump to make.
And now that he's decided he has to stop the Anguis because they are fucked, but he also wants to deal with the hierarchy, so he's going to have to work within. And now he's finally crossing the line in the sand that has never actually been a problem because he hasn't been able to use it for most of the book because it literally would have got him expelled. But now he's going to cross that line in the sand. He's going to work with census. And Viridius is like, not religion. And he's like, nobody. He's like, one day I might work with you to figure out what the fuck's going on, but today's not that day. And Viridius is like, okay, I guess I'll be here. And you're kind of like, what's up? Like, what is happening? And then that's kind of like the chapter ends. And then we get another chapter, and it says synchronous on it. And we're suddenly yeeted back to when our boy was still in the temple thing after he had just run the labyrinth and he escaped, and he's in that thing with the swords kind of poking down at him, and his arm again, we see the it says wait and then run, and then he sees a vision of a snowy land, and there are people, and he's lying in the snow, and there are people like, traveler, stay with us, your companion will be here soon. And he's like, what? And then he kind of blacks out, and then he wakes up again, and he's in the thing with all the swords again, the bronze thing with all the swords, except instead of all the other weird people around him, there's a man there with curly hair who's like, okay, come on, buddy. You've done the synchronous. The other version of you is still in the res. I need you to focus. And he's like, what is happening? What is this? And he was like, buddy, I need you to just focus on what I'm saying. We need to keep the other version of you in the res. And he's like, what's the res? And he's like, the thing at the end of the labyrinth. And he's like, where am I now? And he's like, you're in Lucium, baby. You made it to Lucium. You got through the gate. And he's like, who are you? And he's like, my name's Sarah. And the guy's like, did Viridius send you? Did Viridius send you? And he's like, no, but like I know Viridius, he's the head of the school, and he's like, he would be the head of the school. And he's like, who are you? And he's like, I'm Saror. And he was like, oh, key scores, brother. Saror was like, you know my brother. And then he's like, wait, we don't have time for this. We need to keep the other version of you in this device longer. He can't leave just yet to make everything good. And he was like, okay, what do I have to do? And he hands him a knife and he pulls up the thing on his arm and he's like, you're gonna have to write into your arm, buddy. And that's how it ends. And basically you learn that the person writing in his arm
Is him?
was him, but a different split version of him. And he has like, there's now two versions of him in two different versions of the universe. And he is Lucium, and we don't actually know anything about Lucium because it ends before they exit. And so there's two versions of this that are not connected, who have no idea what the other one is doing. And that's how the book ends. And that's it.
I think my summary jumped to book 2 that I was reading from.
I'm telling you, that's why when you were saying stuff earlier, I'm telling you, because that's why when you were saying stuff earlier, I was like, I don't know if that at all has anything to do with...
I think I got spoilers for book 2 on my mini summary that I tried to generate for myself. Because I was like, as you were getting, I was like, how are we going to cover that part? No.
Nope. Yeah. So that's the book, Will of the Many. And you might be like, wow, Maria, that was a mess of so much stuff happens in the book, and it's just so all over the place. And I hope some of the things I have kind of harped on and Katie has harped on has given you an idea of the fundamental problems in this book. Chris M made a lot of really good points, and so did a lot of the people who gave their final thoughts in the Discord. Join our Discord, join our Patreon so you can get access to our Discord. It's $2 for Discord access. You can't to get access to the book club parts of the Discord, you have to be a book club member, which is higher, but Discord's fun as well. But I always love looking at other people's thoughts as they're reading, but also the final thoughts to see how other people are kind of clarifying their point. And Chris Am made a lot of fantastic points.
Good thematic points, specifically. Yeah. What's nice about specifically the reason why I'm bringing it up, it's because and focusing on it, not bringing it up. The reason why I'm focusing on it is because William, Val, and I have been doing the Witcher series, and Chris M always has a lot of really interesting feedback as far as like bigger concepts go, as far as like what is the theme, how is that being represented, like how are these lines coming together to bring forth what the overall message is of the story and stuff like that. Yeah, again, even if you enjoy one of those wish fulfillment things, like, say, solo leveling and stuff, this would still be a hard successive read, in my opinion, because there are certain hills that you gotta have these even overpowered characters climb on, and you gotta have them... I don't know. I feel like the only way you could get away with an overpowered character, not the only way, one of the ways you could get over it is one, the switch in perspective, or omniscient, because then I feel like you can hide some of the more like OP parts, and like, you know, like you have the veil of privacy for that character, so you can maneuver it and make it seem a little bit more organic when you get to those scenes. Or if you have them, of course, like super depowered someplace else, that's always fun, and that definitely usually ends up working out, although I do find it to be exhausting, especially when like it's not cleverly, like you gotta have a reason for it. Okay, wait, there's a final thought on that. If your character is going to be overpowered, make it for a reason. Like, don't just do it because you want it to happen.
Yep.
If you're going to provide a message with it, or if you're going to use it as a device in some way, now granted, using your main character as a device like that is kind of like, I feel like a gamble, but you got to have a reason for it. Otherwise, it's just like, oh, okay, so like this is your fan fiction of like
Yep.
your favorite character you've made up.
Yep. And honestly, that very much feels like it, because again, there's so many points where like it would have worked for the story and everything. Like again, that fight at the start of the book is a perfect example of a place where he should not have won that fight, and it would have worked in the theme of this hierarchy and this system of will that makes it so meritocracy does not matter, and you are unable to get above these things without using will. And thus, by the time he gets to the end of the book and he has to decide to use will to further succeed, he has to grapple with his own black and white thinking about it.
I almost feel like, now again, I guess it doesn't really matter, but I almost feel like a female protagonist might have, not that I want to read another female protagonist right now, I'm a little tired of them. I feel like I've been, I don't know, saturated with female protagonists lately. But the reason why I say that is because the thing I brought up before about the girls not being allowed to have certain jobs, it's because of the whole need for more workforce, therefore more births and stuff like that. Again, that wasn't really fully like explored or anything like that. That wasn't like a big detail. But if we're talking about like a system like Maria was just saying, where like, you know, you have to like work for it basically, right? Like, or as we were saying earlier, like an underdog type of thing, a female would be perfect for it. It's because number one, it would be really weird if she fought, and that would make her stand out. And no, if that could even happen in this world. And then, which, yeah, I think it did. It's because there was a female Octavie that was fighting at some point. And then the second thing is then that there would be more, I think, forces going against. Oh, you'll get this in 3 worlds in the next one. See, look, that's complicating it even. Like,
oh,
I don't know.
Yeah, because it's the one with Xeror, the one with the snow people. Oh man, I just put that together. Fuck.
Yeah, so the thing is like now we're getting into interdimensional stuff or time and everything, which is basically dimensional. But that's a lot.
It's so much.
It doesn't mean it's not good. It just means it's, as Maria said earlier, very what now I can't think of the word. It was very big goals.
Oh, ambitious.
It's very ambitious.
It is. And I do not trust, based on this book, that is going to work out, especially because if we have these 3 different worlds with other things happening in them, and the only linking factor is Vis, who I thought was already a problem, I'm out. Like, the thing is, there are interesting things. Like, the book ended, and I was like, ooh, that is a fascinating concept. But I did not enjoy this book enough to make me want to read the next book. And again, I was fascinated by what's happening in the ruins. What is this whole system? What is all of this? This book just does not land. There are so many fundamental problems with how this is portrayed, how things happen, the emotional impact. What?
No, finish what you're saying.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's it. All of this stuff and how it all works together to come to the, like, I do not have any interest in reading the next book.
So wait. I just like, so guys, if it wasn't apparent, I couldn't finish the last bit of the book. I ran out of time. So it's never revealed that he's like actually an like really old person?
No.
Bro, what is this showing me? Is this like made up? Or
I have no idea.
Is it, guys in the chat, you have to tell me. Does it not at some point you realize that he has special will techniques?
No, and he's got nothing. No, again, the book ends before he touches the will.
No, I mean in the later books for those of oh god, no. Look, I used Microsoft's Copilot, and I was like, give me a summary of part 3 of the first book, and maybe
probably the 3rd book.
That's what I'm thinking. Okay. Yeah, it's because like it's like, oh, he becomes basically a god. And I was like, wow, this is a lot more like Shadow of the Conqueror than I thought.
And this is why I didn't think, like, I understood at the beginning why you thought Shadow of the Conqueror, but like I was like towards the end I was like, I don't know why she's bringing that up. Like it really doesn't.
No,
And
that's,
then when you
yeah,
made
that's
the
why.
point, yeah, I was
Because
like,
apparently
I really don't understand these references.
so big spoilers ahead. Apparently, and I don't know much, obviously, but apparently he has a reawakening at one point, and he realizes, and he is and like you realize that there are these people called the Venerates, and they are trying to reawaken this old Venerate, like powerful evil dude who was Viz apparently, and he gets half awoken, and so there's a faction now of Katenin that wants to use him, and there's a faction of Katenin, Catan that wants to kill him, and he's like, oh, I've awakened to my power, and he like that's what it's described like. Saint Jen. And anyway, so now he's like he's beyond willpower now. Now he has like all power. Like I don't know.
So Chris M does make the point that he does use will in book 1 when he gets the heart thingy, but is that actually will because he's not getting power from someone, or did the labyrinth?
But it's the special. No, it's his special will abilities. He has something that nobody else has because he's a Venerate. So also, by the way, this means that he's not biologically related to the monarchy family. He was taken in as a super secret weapon. Worse, isn't it? Maria.
I hate this. So we're not reading the next book, but I probably will read summaries of the next 2 books just, you know, to kind of maybe get some context for all of this. But that was Will of the Many. It's been 2 hours and 55 minutes since we started this stream.
Wait, Nana Nandi says, I know about the evil guy from book 2, but didn't read enough to learn if it's Viz. The evil guy also being Viz, and 3 protagonists being Viz would fit this series, though.
Oh, man. Well, thanks for being here with us.
You're a real one, guys.
That read this, stuck around to the end. This has been a long live stream. So thank you all who stuck. I think we had 12 people at one point. We got 7 now. So and some people had to leave, like they said they were leaving because, you know, this was a long stream and I don't know that everybody planned to spend 3 hours Saturday with us talking about this book. Anyway, thanks for being here, guys, and thank you to everyone who's watching on YouTube. Join our Patreon. It's a great time. And that's it. We love you, a pair of social darlings. Bye.